Hello everybody and welcome to the UK Championship, the first Triple Crown event of this season, and what a better place to start than to welcome the reigning champion of the UK Championship, the ace in the pack, Judd, up against the Maverick, the player that has actually played quite well in the qualifying round. So let's see if he's going to be able to take that and produce some of his best performances this season up against the world number one. That's probably what he's going to take for him to actually beat Chomp, because Chomp comes into this match after losing semi-final and the final off to non-ranking events, losing out to Mark Selby, the champion of champions, and of course losing out to Zhao last week at the Saudi Arabia at the Riyadh Championship season. So let's see what we're gonna witness from these two players. I think Chomp comes into this match as a massive favourite, but nevertheless, I think one thing that you can learn about Maguire is never write him off before the match starts, and it's going to depend massively on the way that he approaches this match and the start that we're actually going to witness from both of these players. I think both of them are certainly capable of producing a great show for the fans, and let's see what we're going to be working with. Maguire 6-3. Well, the thing about score prediction here is I think the first frame is going to be absolutely massive, but I would go for Chomp to win this match by a scoreline of 6 frames to 2. Just seems to be absolutely nailed on for me. So that's the sort of prediction that I'm going to go with. And as well, who will be the champion? Very surprised to see so many of you going for Judd. Maybe it is because it is Maguire against Chomp, but ultimately 61% for Chomp, 16% for Ronnie, 15% for Zhao and 10% for the others. So the likes of Mark Selby, Neil Robertson, Connor Wilson, Mark Williams, John Higgins could still be the ones to win it. And mustn't forget the likes of Sean Murphy, Ding Jiwei, and all the other players that will be featuring from the top seeded players. And then you also have 16 qualifiers, which have all managed to beat their respective opponents in at least the semi-final and the final clash. You know, Stephen Maguire has gone on to beat Chan Min Yu, that has made a maximum in that match up against the Maverick, and has taken it into a decider, still managed to come out on top. Now let's see if that's going to be the case now. And yeah, fancy a max this week. Well, you certainly would, especially if you were Liam Pullen or Chang Min Yu. Those two players have actually managed to make those in the qualifying rounds. And of course, it matters very much so for you when you make them in the Triple Crown events, because if you make 2 across the Triple Crown events and Saudi Arabia, as far as I'm aware, for the reason of O'Sullivan was very happy when he managed to make 2 in the same match against Chris Wakeley in the semi-final, you get a £147,000 worth of bonuses. So, you know, those two players would have fancied their chances, but also, ultimately, both of them would have been knocked out already. So, I don't think either of them is going to make it to Masters. Therefore, they'll have to try and do it at the World Championship to try and hope for that massive prize money. And ultimately, you'll have the top 16 player seeds trying to replicate that and try and have a little bit of the story for them to be shown. Still no sign of a match starting. We got the pre-match interviews starting with Maguire and Chomp. Of course, just going through their archive of the way this championship have gone. I think we've got 6 different winners across 6 years now. We've had Chomp last year. We had Ronnie O'Sullivan in 2023. Then we had Mark Ulland. Then we had Zhao. Then we had COVID year was Neil Robertson. And then I think 2019 was Ding Jiwei. Yes, so we do have 6 different winners now. So can he be someone like Karen Wilson that's actually never won this tournament before, for him to be edging out on that Triple Crown closed off there for him, of course being the champion in 2024. And ultimately you can have the likes of Sean Murphy brought into play. Maybe the class of 92, which both of them haven't actually won it for a while, but now finally we get the introduction of the match started. So let's give it up there, and I certainly think it's going to be a great week of snooker there, because we start today on a Saturday and we're going to finish on Sunday next week. So let's see who's going to be the crowned, the first Triple Crown champion this year and this season. World champion coming alive now. Well, wouldn't really say so, because I was just about to say, you know, I wasn't going to make a video about it. But ultimately, I think Wilson is going to be my underachievement of this week. Potentially, Neil Robertson is going to be the player to look out for. But ultimately, the player that I actually think is going to win the whole thing is going to be not Ronnie O'Sullivan, not Judd, but Zhao. Never underestimate that guy, and the last time I did, he managed to absolutely demolish both Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Williams on his way to the maiden World Championship crown. So let's see if he's going to be able to replicate that story and an absolute fairy tale of 2021 as we welcome Ryan Day and Si Jiahui on table number 2, which are going to accompany us for the first part of the action here on day number 1 at York at the UK Championship. Yeah, well, chap, what was I say? I think I'm very surprised to see Ronnie only with 16%, but it is going to be for another watch-along. But ultimately, him getting the draw of Zhou Yulong, I think, is actually the worst bit of news that he's ever going to get in this Triple Crown season so far. Because, yes, you could say Maguire would have been a tough draw as well, and that's what Chomp has to deal with. But ultimately, I think there is no one that can try and dismantle Ronnie O'Sullivan in the way that Zhou Yulong can. So the only thing I would say about that match, and that's probably the last bit which I'm going to mention on it, they've met 7 times. 3 of them have actually been in the UK Championship in the 2018, 2022 and 2023 season. And O'Sullivan managed to win 2 of those matches with a scoreline of 6-0. But the last one that he managed to take to a decider and still win, he was actually crowned the champion that year. So I have to wait and see on that one. But ultimately, as I say, for Ronnie, being a Ronnie fan myself, I wouldn't actually count on the Rocky getting quite far in the tournament. But he's got a nice little draw. You know, I think the harder draw is going to be involved with Robertson and Williams, which I think they're going to have to face off each other in the quarterfinal. I think Chomp has got a relatively decent draw. I think the best, sort of the higher ranking seed that he can face is going to be Ding Jiahui or Mark Allen in the quarterfinal. So it's not that bad, but you expect that from the world number 1. But Zhao Xington, I mean, I said he was going to be the winner before I looked at his draw side, but after I looked at it, I mean, I was like, absolutely yes. I think he's sort of level on the odds there with Judd Chomp as it stands, because of, you know, I think he's got Long Zhuqiang in the first round, which is going to be the qualifier. Then he's got either Zhang Anda or Guy Wilson, and then I think he's going to be coming on for either Sean Murphy or John Higgins in the quarterfinal. So I think he's got a nice little side of the job, but also you have to be mindful of the fact that the majority of the losses for Zhao Xington this season, especially in the earlier rounds, have actually come from the matches that you wouldn't expect it to be the case. As now we welcome the world number 1, the ace in the pack. The crowd certainly are going to be enjoying this one. And let's see if we're going to create a great show put off between those 2 players now. And yes, come on, Ronnie. Well, listen, I was bigging up Ronnie when he was sort of playing quite well at the start of the China Grand Prix. You know, I thought he's actually managed to do really, really well to force a decider against Neil Robertson, the Saudi Arabian Masters. Didn't really show a lot of form in Shanghai Masters anyway, but when you look at the way that he's lost out the China Grand Prix quarterfinal, when he lost out to Jack Lisowski in just a chaotic decider, and the performance that he put up against Murphy, I just think, I know that the Triple Crown events usually bring the best out of him, and he has got 8 of those UK Championship to his name, but ultimately it may just be one too many for him to try and reach. But ultimately, we're now going to get underway here, and as the players shake hands, it is going to be Stephen Maguire to get us underway here. Straight away, just asking the referee to respot the brown to ensure that everything is going to be perfect for the setup. And yeah, if you are to talk about this match, as I say, 6-2 is the ultimate prediction for me. But I think Maguire does need the start now, preferably for him to go sort of 1 or 2 frames clear and then try and dictate the run of play. Because if Chomp is going to be able to get himself on top, it is going to be a very difficult of a show for Stephen Maguire to try and put up ahead of these fans. Ronnie loves York. O'Sullivan won't make the semi-finals. Well, listen, if you talk about it, I think he's going to have to play either Mark Selby or Li Pei Fan in the last 16, so it ain't going to be easy anyway. And then in the quarterfinal, potentially can have the 2 seeded players of Barry Hawkins or Karen Wilson. So I don't think he'll make the semis, by the way, and I don't actually think that he'll manage to get into the last sort of 8. I think it'll be a challenge for him to get into the last 16 there by the standards that he's been producing against Zhou Yulong. But as I say, that's going to be dependent on the way that he approaches that match and actually starts it. Maguire hasn't played a good safety there, leaving a red over the right corner for Chomp to take. See if he's going to be able to cue this one nicely. Get the cue ball to the top part of the table here. Ooh, play the shot with power. Managed to get the red in, but where's the cue ball going to finish? Yeah, he hasn't played the shot too well in the case of, I mean, he's caught the red in with the way that he wobbled in the jaws, which would have compromised the angle that the cue ball was going to travel in towards. And now, I mean, he's got the yellow into its own pocket, or he's got the blue to try and roll through into the left corner now. So it's going to be interesting to see what the approach is going to be taken there by Judd. I think you have to go for the yellow for the pure cue ball control. And nice little line there. Gets the yellow in. How's the white going to stop? I think it's going to stop absolutely perfectly there. So first real chance for Chomp. And not the way that Stephen Maguire would like to see that chance given away there to his opponent. And yeah, ultimately I think if you talk about Chomp, you have to mention the world number 2, 3 and 4, which are going to be Kyle Wilson, Neil Robertson and Mark Williams. As I say, I think Wilson still hasn't been able to find that consistency, as Chomp won't be happy with that positional shot. It looked like a straightforward transition there on the cue ball, but has gone over the blue line. And now has to try and bounce the cue ball off the black ball cushion in a perfect manner for him to try and get on the next red. Manages to minimize the angle on the blue and try to roll it in the near jaw, which allows him to have more freedom in terms of opening up the cue ball and leaving it with a bit more space to try and take the next red. Position fully recovered now. But, yeah, he's got 3 reds now available to him as he takes the first one of those 2. Yeah, so he's got 2 more available into the left and right corner, and then, what is it, the bunch of 10 reds, which is going to be right underneath the pink set up perfectly for you to try and have a little cannon, either from the black or blue. Depends on what he wants to do with it, and Chomp ain't going to be messing around. He's going to try and do it right here, right now, and he's actually played the shot quite nicely, because the cannon that he got on the cue ball off into those reds has landed him with a nice little shot to be taken into the right corner now. And yeah, let's see if it's going to be 18 points. Well, Selby will beat O'Sullivan. Anyway, I understand that, but listen, if you say that Ronnie has been playing too well, if you take away the champion of champions, and I know Selby has been absolutely fantastic, but if you take away that champion of champion performance, you could argue that he had a decent campaign at the English Open, but I wouldn't really say that Selby has been, you know, performing absolute magic this season anyway. So I think you'll have to beat Li Beifan first. And, well, actually, you could probably argue that Li Beifan would have been a tougher draw than Zhou Yilong, but I still think there's nothing to separate those 2 Chinese players. One is the Scottish Open champion last year, and one is the runner-up at this year's English Open. And, of course, made a semi-final stage against against Jack Lisowski, where he ultimately lost out to the eventual winner of Jack at that stage. I don't think Chomp has played a nice shot now. I think he was trying to guide the cue ball without touching the reds. In the end, hasn't managed to do that. And let's see if he's going to be able to get through to that red to try and take it into the left corner. By Chomp, game over. Well, I think it's a bit harsh on both Maguire and Chomp. I think, you know, you either overestimated Chomp badly or you just don't feel like Stephen Maguire got what it takes against him. Nice little shot there by Chomp. To be fair, he's run himself out of position on sort of 3-4 occasions, and he's managed to recover brilliantly on each of those 4. And, well, let's see now. 47 points for Chomp, so 91 still on the table. If he takes it into the first break of 50+ points, I think he's going to be able to guide the cue ball into the main bunch of reds and get himself lined up for a couple of more of those shots taken into the right corner. Maguire is on fire. I mean, I wouldn't say he was on fire, but he was playing really well in the qualifying rounds. I think that match against Chang Min-Yu was one of the high-quality matches that we've seen in York, or at least in the qualifying matches for York. I think he was played in Leicester, to be fair. And then he had a judgment day, which he absolutely destroyed Ian Burns in, with a scoreline of 6 frames to 1. And you're right about Selby. Well, listen, it is still an if button if we're going to see Mark Selby against Ronnie O'Sullivan, because they do have 2 great Chinese talents up against them in the last 32 stage. As Chomp now gets himself lined up for the 61 points of a cushion. So if he takes the red in, he's going to have 67 points on the table. So he's going to need the blue now to go 67 points clear with 67 on the table. He hasn't got the pink on his usual spot. He ain't going to be able to play for the black here. So he got a bit of the angle now on the blue, but I don't think he's going to be happy with this one. Asking the referee to clean the white. Obviously didn't get as much traction as he would have liked to. And not writing off Maguire. Yeah, I mean, you can't write Maguire after losing the opening frame, especially with some snooker that Judd Chomp's played. You know, he's been playing really, really well. And as I say, if York is going to bring out the best of Judd Chomp, I'm here for it. And, ooh, that shot ain't going to do it. Wow, he was trying to cannon the cue ball into the reds, and in the end he's going to make the blue in, but he's also going to pop the cue ball into the left corner. So it's not going to be 67 points clear for him. It is going to be 62 points of a cushion, and then 5 points given away here to Maguire. So Stephen can still come back at this one. Chomp has got to finals this year and still not playing well. No, I don't think I wouldn't say that, you know, I wouldn't say Chomp has not been playing well. I think I was saying that Selby wasn't playing well. I think, no, well, to be fair, if you talk about it, I still think that he hasn't been at his level that we've seen him last year. I don't think there's going to be a lot of judgment about it. He's made it to Northern Ireland final, but apart from that, I don't actually think he's made it to the semi-final stage. Apart from that, so yeah, I think it is an underachievement there from Judd Chomp's point of view. Especially, you know, he's the world number one. He's the current winner of the UK Championship, but he hasn't really done a lot now in this season. And also, I think there's a great difference between you being the runner-up of the tournament and actually winning the tournament. And, you know, Wilson has managed to do it, although it being not ranking event by Shanghai Masters. Robertson managed to do it, Saudi Arabia Masters. Williams managed to do it in Xi'an Grand Prix. You know, then who's number 5 now? Ronnie, of course, has made it into the final himself, but I think Ronnie will be able to tell you that he won't be happy with the way this season has gone for him either. You know, losing out to decide there to Neil Robertson. It would have been a very different story if he managed to win that Saudi Arabia Masters, but, you know, that's if but some maybes for you. Against Blames, Qs and Ferrells. Well, Q will go. It is, and you can understand why Chomp was playing that shot, and I think he also is going to have that pink available. So a little bit of a cushion there to his name, because it is going to be on the right-hand side of the table. There's his location right now. So Maguire is going for a red into the right corner. He managed to get this one in, refused the plant earlier, and just finding that little red, which Chomp has left with a bad positional shot now. Of course, he can't really afford to be laying a snooker now on Chomp, because he's 56 behind. 59 on the table, so he needs the brown in, but he needs the position on the next red even more. So technically, yeah, I think, you know, the shot that he's taken up now is probably going to be the right short selection, because he's not going to take the colour on, but he's going to try and get the pink into available play, still get the cue ball in behind the green. And yeah, I think the pink is now going to be brought back into play, so Maguire has to make sure now the next chance he's going to get is going to be taken with all high-value colours now. With it being 56 points of a gap, 59 on the table. Don't think he's played the first shot well enough, though. I think this red is going to be taken into the left corner there for him. No, missed it. Where's the cue ball going to be? Ooh, this could be nasty there for Maguire if it is. You're going to go in behind the green. I think it's going to bounce off the right-hand side of it. And in the end, it is going to be the long pot available now for Stephen Maguire. So it is there, and the chance is there now for Maguire, because he can have the black set up into the right corner. Not going to have a lot of those issues ahead of him if he wants to produce a wonderful little steal. But for that to be the case, he needs to start off with a brilliant long pot now. Rolls the red in perfectly, straight into the heart of the pocket, and now gets a perfect position on the black. So, I mean, it might not even be game over in the opening frame, let alone in the match. And I always said that he needed a couple of opening frame or two to get under his belt for him to be in contention of actually trying to have a chance now in this encounter with Chomp. Now he's 48 points behind, so he's not going to be short in points. He's going to have 51 of those available on the table, but he's got himself lined up with a bit of a difficulty red now to try and roll along the cushion, and yeah, play the shot wrong. Played the shot in the wrong fashion out there, and I think he's tried to force that one in. and caught their cushion way too close to the cue ball, and in the end it is going to be a chance given away there to Chomp. So Chomp should hopefully try and close the frame away now as he gets the red in over the right corner pocket. So now nice little break of 50 points there for him to add to the break of 62 points earlier, and he will be not a perfect start there, but still a nice Chomp and a nice start there for him. 56 points is the gap now, so I don't think we're going to see Stephen Maguire back at the table. And Chomp going back to old. Yeah, I think the sort of the camera work that has been working on, I think he's actually demonstrated the fact that Chomp has gone back to the basics there for him. Listen, if that's going to make the difference there for him, that's fine. And yeah, it's a nice little shot there for the safety to be played. I don't think he was attempting the plant. And now it is going to be the first frame taken by the ace in the pack, and it is now a bit of a scrappy stuff in the middle part of it, but ultimately it is going to be Chomp 1, Steve Maguire 0, as we go into the second frame, where you can watch the Snooker live. I think it is on TNT Sports too, and WSD Play. And yeah, as we go back onto the Champion of Champions and the Riyadh season, where you could actually watch that on free TV for those being not ranking events. Now we're going to have to go to the Triple Crown, so that's going to be a bit of a different format. Now, by the way, talk about format, let's have a look how the second table is actually performing out there with Ryan Day and Sijawi putting in the numbers. Sijawi managed to take the opening frame with a nice little break of 61 points, so pretty much matching Chomp there. Breaks of 61 and 62 points from two of the higher rated players. And of course, Chomp would have been a high favourite anyway going into that match, with him being the world number 1 and still the reigning champion. But Maguire needs to be up to speed very quickly, or he'll be out of the equation just as quick. Now, he wasn't too precise in his safety play, but also he was struggling with making the most out of the chance that was actually presented to him nicely by Chomp. At the size break of 8 points, probably just another sign of that. It is going to be now the break of Judd now in the making. So it's his turn to try and set the pace up for the second frame. Managed to take the opening one quite nicely and quite comfortably away from Maguire. Let's see if he's going to be able to do it once again here. Rolls the cue ball onto the top part of the table. Not going to have any of those reds in a dangerous position. Played the shot really well there for the break off. Not only did he manage to get the cue ball save, also managed to play it in the way that he's going to have black available for him with no reds anywhere near it, and a couple of those reds actually available into the left and right corner for him to take. So Maguire just switches the run of play, sends the cue ball onto the black ball cushion and the red onto the top part of the table. So needs to try and get a foot in here, try and apply the pressure on Trump, but ultimately when the chances are going to be presenting to himself, he's going to have to make sure he takes them. Otherwise, it is going to be a simple showdown there for Chomp, who rolls the cue ball over the green pocket. So just about going to stop in time there with the white. And now Maguire can try and nudge a couple of those reds towards the left corner pocket, guide the cue ball onto the right-hand rail, and get himself set up for a nice little safety battle now. As the referee of this match is going to be Kevin Dabrowski. I don't think I've mentioned his name for the start of this match. Now, let's see. This shot is going to be important for Maguire, because if he's going to play in the attacking way, he has to make sure he's not going to leave any of those reds over left corner pocket. Play his shot nicely. And it's a nice cue ball control to ensure that Chomp is not going to be able to see that red, which has gone right underneath the green, and sort of aims diagonally at the left-hand side of the table. Appreciate that, Gareth. This caller offers the best alternative. Yeah, appreciate that. Lovely message there. Now, Chomp having a look to see if he's going to have a plant available into the left corner. And, I mean, the problem with that plant is he's going to have a mighty distance in between those two reds. And also, he's going to have to sacrifice some of the control on the cue ball. And he has played that one in a decent fashion. But ultimately, he was very close to actually giving that red away into the yellow pocket. The cue ball is going to pull up just in about perfect time there for him. I'm just going to have a trap. Yeah, Kevin, thank you. As I say, the check is in the pocket. Thank you. Appreciate that. Genuinely do. Now, Maguire going back to probably just edging the right-hand side of those reds towards the left corner pocket. I just have to make sure that we're not going to be able to see the safety battle to drag on for absolutely ages. And if you're going to cover up the black here, that's probably going to slow the play down even more. Maguire won his only Triple Crown title at the 2004 UK Championship. So that's an interesting point there for you. Defeating Eric Gray in the scoreline of 10 frames to 1. Wow. Almost a whitewash in the final. As I say, you ask the best players on the tour, or would you prefer a maximum in the tournament and actually winning that one, or a whitewash in the final? I think we've seen that subject being spoken on. Stephen Henry, Ronnie O'Sullivan and Mark Selby, I think it was. And all three of them have said that a whitewash in the final just feels so different to anything else. Yeah, Maguire ultimately going for the knife edge of a cut on the red and trying to get the cue ball towards the green pocket. Overrun massively there. So, you know, Trump has actually managed to leave that red in a position which wasn't playable for Maguire. Not sure that Stephen managed to do the same thing here. So Trump is just going to try and edge that red into the left corner now with an attacking shot and a long red. And played the shot quite nicely there, but didn't quite manage to actually drop the red in. And let's see if the same red is going to be available there for Maguire to take. Trump needs the cue ball to be in behind the green, and it's not going to be now. So it's another chance perfectly presented now for Stephen Maguire. Let's see if he's going to be able to get the red in, get himself on the black. Oh, he wasn't playing for the black, which I will say is quite a surprise thing for me to see there, because I mean, he didn't land perfectly on either pink or blue now. I mean, if he takes the pink on, I mean, where is he going to find the next red from? And if he takes the blue in to try and play for the red available onto the top part of the table, he's going to have to play this one with power. And also he needs to make sure he's going to drop the blue in. Seen a couple of those missed in the qualifying rounds. Not this time around, though. And where's the traction going to be on the cue ball? Oh, perfect placement there from Stephen. And lovely little stuff there for him. You know, we have seen a break of 62 points from Chomp in the previous frame, which has actually seen quite a few bumpy stuff along the way. Now let's see if Chomp is going to be able to watch the sort of a similar performance there from Maguire's point of view. And it's now the Maverick that is going to try and do all the work himself. Roll the red into the yellow pocket now. Get himself lined up with a selection of the ball colours. I think he is going to go for the brown. Unless he wants to have a lot of the angle to try and play for the yellow. Which usually is going to be a suggestion that he has to send the cue ball into the main bunch of reds. Not this time around though. So just guiding the cue ball onto the left hand side of the table. And playing the shot nicely once again. Maguire's in. He is Eddie. See if he's going to be able to make this break, the sort of 50-60 points, which is what he's going to take there for you to try and put some pressure on Trump and try and get him out of that comfort zone. I think you're never going to see Maguire running away with this match against Trump, so therefore he just has to take it one shot at a time, try and get the scoreline into being as even or slightly in his favour as possible, and then ultimately, you know, you're going to see some nerves there from Chomp if Maguire is going to be able to get himself sort of 3-2, 4-3 ahead. And yeah, he weren't too happy with that shot there as he manages to roll the pink in, but still was very concerned there with the way the cue ball has left the cue tip. So I think he's going to ask the referee to clean the white after he's going to be able to re-establish the pink back on his spot. And good shot. Well, I think it was on the previous occasion. I'll say I think that transition from the brown onto the net red was very important there for him. Now he's going to have the pink in amongst those reds. So not really going to have to use that one in the foreseeable future, as we still wait for the referee to try and re-establish the pink into a perfect position out there. So a bit of a delay in the game. Shouldn't be too long now. You ever been to York to watch live? Nah, absolutely not. As I say, my history with going to events is probably going to be limited to Cheltenham and British Open there. As Maguire acknowledging that from the crowd. And yeah, nice little gesture there for him. Certainly seen the funny side of it. And I think we have seen when he was walking out there, he was having a smile on his face, certainly enjoying himself. Let's see now if he's going to be able to have those numbers to back it up there. So rolls the red in after a long delay. Has a little bit of an issue with the sticker, but ultimately not going to have an issue with the positional play in the black. And I think now is the golden opportunity to try and roll the cue ball with a bit of power into the main bunch of reds from underneath, for the simple reason of he's going to have a guaranteed red available into the left corner there for him to be taken. That's going to allow him the chance to try and take that in a way which ultimately ain't going to be too much of a sacrifice. Yeah, he didn't really play the shot too well though, because he got unwanted spin on the cue ball, and ultimately that red, which would have been posited easily had there would have been no side spin on the cue ball, in the end probably becomes impossible there for Maguire to try and navigate his way through. And the break of 26 points could well be the end of Stephen Maguire now. Going to be covering that. It's an interesting question. I thought about it, but don't know anything about it. I never watched it, so probably no for now. Maybe in a couple of years' time, as I say. I think for now it's going to be, the next season of F1 is going to be really thrilling with the new regulations, a couple of new teams coming in. Maybe a couple of Grand Slams over the summer in tennis side of thing. And ultimately, as I say, darts ain't my forte anyway. And don't know anything about it. I mean, Maguire has got a potential double on, available into the right middle. I don't really think he's going to be able to take that one in a way, which is going to have the cue ball position for the black, but ultimately not give anything easy away to Chomp, should Maguire miss it. And I think ultimately there's more than 2 minutes already taken on the shot. As the shot time approaches that now. Maybe take the rest out and just try and guide the cue ball away into the green pocket once again. Have that 26 points of an advantage and try and have the first shot in your favour. Maybe he's just going to roll the cue ball into the black ball cushion. Oh, he's tried to go for the red now. I don't think it was the right choice there for him. But has he managed to get some sort of cover in behind the yellow or the red with the cue ball? Don't think he's managed to do it though. Listen, it's one of those shots that if you make, you're going to say it's a brilliant shot there from Maguire. But if you miss it, you're going to be ridiculed. And you probably will have people saying that you shouldn't take the shot in the UK Championship Triple Crown event, especially against someone like Judd. What do you think of Shootout? Don't really think a lot about it, but don't really think it should be a ranking event, is my honest thoughts, as Trump is able to get around that red to try and roll one into the left corner. And listen, congratulations to Tom Ford winning it last year. And yes, it's a great chance for some of the lower ranking players that are not going to be on the tour to try and actually present themselves. But the format is interesting, but I wouldn't really say that it's going to work for it to be called a brilliant success. And you can understand it being... Listen, if you play it in the first couple of rounds, that's fine for me. But if you're going to play it into a semi-final and a final stage, whereas I think you're going to have to start with last 16 and ending on the final in the same day, I don't really think that tournament is going to be set up for success anyway. Hate that tournament, and the rowdy crowd annoys me. Yeah, same here. Well, I'll be honest with you. Once again, it's a very unpopular thing to say, but I do completely understand you, and there's 2 points to it. If you are in the crowd, maybe add a couple of drinks or anything, you're just enjoying yourself and you want to be engaged with it. But if you are watching on the TV and you want to have that sound of the cue going through the cue ball with a brilliant sort of sound of the red hitting the pocket with power, bit of interaction maybe in between the players, I completely understand the disruption that you feel like the crowd is actually causing. But listen, at the end of the day, if I was in the crowd myself, I wouldn't really give you a guarantee that I wouldn't be amongst those. So, can't really be a hypocrite in that. But not really enjoyable to watch. I'll be really honest with you on that one. But I wouldn't say the crowd is the worst bit about it. As I say, I think the format itself is an interesting one. You could say the same about the Crucible Cup, that we've had Stephen Hendry, Neil Robertson, Gary Wilson, Barry Hawkins, and Mark Williams, I think, as well, featuring last week whilst we had qualifiers on. And ultimately, Neil Robertson saying that it's probably the best rules that he's ever seen when it comes to snooker. And also saying that, you know, some of those rules could actually be implemented in the real game, with those rules not being changed for quite some time now. He thinks it might be time for some modifications there to the rule system. I think the 15-minute format of a frame is interesting, but I also think that it's a bit of a naive comment to an extent there from Robertson. Lovely little shot there by Chomp. Managed to get those reds to spread out, gets himself lined up perfectly on the pink. So, yeah, killing two birds with one stone there from Judd. Brilliant shot there for the taking. But ultimately, I think the reason why it was enjoyable for Robertson to play, because you had the top 16 players. I think you missed out Talcadon on that as well. But listen, if you're going to have someone like sort of Joe Connor, Ben Wollaston, Mark Selby trying to play the game with a slow pace, I think there are going to be so many places for you to try and exploit that and slow the game down, and therefore, you know, turn that shot clock into their favour. I think there's going to be, well, significant change there for that format to actually work, unless you're going to implement it only like sort of high stages of the Masters or the World Championship, but that's not really going to be fair if you're going to be playing with one set of rules for one stage of the tournament and with the other for the semi-final and the final stage. Jump once again getting nice low traction on the cue ball. Positional play so far has been absolutely supreme there from Judd. 16 points clear, having those 3 reds available in open play. I don't think he's going to be able to go 43 points clear with those, which is going to be the need there for him, for Chum not to require any one of those 2 reds, which are currently positioned very close to the black ball cushion. And yeah, I think he's going to be able to take the red, which is slightly away there from the black ball cushion now. And that's exactly the thing that Chomp is trying to sort of have a look at right now. Trying to take that red into the right corner as he pots the pink. So 23 points is the gap, 59 points on the table. So roll the red in. And with a bit of attraction on the cue ball, once again, I think it is going to be a logical move to try and transition the white onto the black now. John thinks against that, so wants to stay for the pink for one more shot. And obviously next time around, you'll have to play for the red. And the logical move once again will be to try and play for the black of trying to get the positional play of the penultimate red out there. Now 30 points is the advantage, so this red is going to make sure it is going to be 43 points on the table. So Chomp is going to need this black and a red now for him to be taken both into the right corner, which has been a very busy pocket there for Chomp recently. Great tournament, big boys in snooker come to top. Well, it certainly is going to be a great tournament, a great showdown there. I think the draws have been done in the way that you're going to have some of the exciting matchups in the quarterfinals, but also you're going to preserve some of those high quality players very much until the latter stages of the tournament. Let's see if Chomp is going to be able to get the red in. He will. And it is going to be a 2-0 lower cushion there in terms of frames advantage for Chomp. So, you know, the 6-2 of the scoreline might actually not be the case there for Maguire, because, you know, with my logic for that, I expected Maguire to win at least one of those opening 3 frames. And he's managed to lose out the opening 2 now. 46 points of advantage here for Chomp. So I don't think Chomp is going to be letting Maguire back at the table. Oh, manages to get the brilliant red along the black ball cushion. Didn't actually think that was the case there. But, you know, with it being the case, we now can have a nice little century break on our hands to try and actually witness the break of 80 points. So possible of a 107 if Chomp is to make a total clearance. And we'll only need the pink for the century, of course. But as you would expect for the world number 1, if he does manage to get on the pink, he's going to be able to roll the black in as well. Maguire needs a frame fast. Yes, he does. He does. And he had a couple of those chances. He had a brilliant chance of a clearance in the last frame. He had a 26 points of a break earlier this frame. ultimately run himself out of position on the red with the unwanted spin on the cue ball. And what followed up was a brilliant, hopefully century break in a couple of moments' time as Trump rolls the pink in, and it is going to be a century break for this crowd to witness. And it is Judd Trump certainly playing some of the best snooker that we've seen all season, with the breaks of 100 points and 62. Not quite a total clearance, but ultimately it is still going to be a century break. And Judd Trump just edging closer towards being on target for that 100 centuries in a season. See if he's going to be able to improve that count and that tally by a couple of more century breaks in this match alone. Maguire needs to get going. At the moment, he's looking like 6-0. Yeah, I think probably wouldn't say 6-0, but 6-1. I still think that Maguire will get a frame eventually because, you know, the further Trump actually runs away there, the more there will be a little bit of a hunger for him to try and get this match over as soon as possible. And I think that's where Maguire can actually sort of thrive himself. Try and have a couple of those chances exploited. Only on 32, won't reach 100. No. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to make 68 centuries this tournament, this match, but I'm saying that he can get to 33, 34 for him to get a couple of on the bounce. I still think, if you mean on the season, that you're not going to reach 100, I still think he can. Because he's 32, you're exactly a third now. You're going to have the entire UK Championship for the Triple Crown. You're going to have the Masters. You're going to have the World Championship, which is going to have the most amount of frames. So, I think you still can. I think it is going to be, who is it now? Zhao or Sean Murphy with the most centuries being made this season. Let's have a look at the rankings. Yeah, Sean Murphy 36, Mark Selby 32. Wow, didn't expect that. Didn't actually expect that at all. Judd Trump 31, so 32 right now. Neil Robertson 30, Zhao 28. Wow, the fact that Mark Selby has got 32 centuries this season is a bit baffling there for me. You've got the Wilson pair, Gary and Kyron, 26 and 23. Ronnie O'Sullivan 23 as well. Jack Lisowski 21, and Ding Zhuwei rocking up the top 11 with 20 centuries of his own. A lovely little return of Marco Fu as well, which has to be given a massive shout out after his shoulder injury. Managed to have a brilliant performance against Yu Hen, but not so much against Joey Long, and ultimately retired after the interval, so hopefully it wasn't anything serious there to him, but lovely to see him back on tour and playing some great stuff there against Yu Hen. Certainly was a pleasure to watch. Selby playing okay. Well, I mean, I literally said that Selby is underachieved massively this season, and then I have a look at 32 centuries being made, and I just have a little think about it. This one didn't do well at Shanghai Masters, didn't really do well at Saudi Arabia Masters. Wuhan Open, no. English Open, yes, got to the semi-final, lost out to Joey Long, eventual runner-up. Then British Open, I think he got to the semi-final stage. I think he lost out to Murphy. So decent once again. Xi'an Grand Prix, not really. International Championship, not really. And yeah, Champion of Champions, of course, being in the final there with Trump and playing really good stuff out there. Didn't make the Riyadh Championship shootout as far as I'm aware. I mean, I said that without actually thinking about it. I don't think he was featuring. I think he had Murphy to replace him very late into the first part of the season. As Maguire goes for a break off. Let's see if he's going to be a chance there for Maguire to try and respond to the form that Judd Trump has actually been showing himself. Marco Fu's legend. Yeah, I mean, he made sort of 550 centuries, I think he was. I mean, that's absolutely incredible for him. The way he plays the game, man, it's absolutely brilliant to watch. And yeah, he's such a legend of the game, that. Such a character as well. Lovely little person off and off the table. And Ronnie will need to hit a century in every single frame up into the final to compete on the centuries list. Well, Stephen, that's a bit of a, you know, Ronnie, if Ronnie is going to be able to get himself into a nice shape, he's going to be able to have those centuries, you know, once in every 3 frames or so. And then all of a sudden, he's going to be right on the top pile of that ranking list. And Now let's see if it is going to be the first chance for Maguire, with Watchalong missing the long red there, so missed that one with a bit of traction, and ultimately has had a bit of pace on the cue ball. Lovely little shot there, taken really nicely from Maguire, to be fair. Lands just about on the top side of the blue, and it is going to be the third chance taken there for Maguire. He had one in every single one of those former frames. See if he's going to be able to make the one that actually counts there for him. 26 points so far is the highest break for Maguire. The breaks of 62 and 100 exactly have been the best points off Watchalong. But yeah, I think Maguire is going to be very, very lucky man indeed, and I think he is going to apologise for this one. Basically, he was trying to send the cue ball into the main bunch of reds straight away by playing into the pink. Caught that one horribly wrong and skidded the cue ball into the right hand side of the pink. Still managed to sort of bounce away from the cushions and line himself up perfectly for the red into the left corner. So has to take this as a chance and not going to be able to do it. Yeah, Maguire. I mean, at this stage, you probably have to say that 16 over scoreline is going to be likely there for him. He's just not being able to get up to speed now. Has the pink over the left corner pocket now for him for a long shot, which he has put there by luck. Now has to roll this one in and still have a lot of the bounce power on the cue ball. I mean, played the shot nicely, to be fair. So manages to recover to an extent. And right now it is going to be 13 points advantage. So 2 more reds available there for Chomp. And Maguire to try and exploit. But of course, with Stephen being the one at the table, he's going to try and knock those reds into the right middle and right corner from here, you would think. And then try and get himself lined up for the probably blue right now. Because pink is going to go underneath those reds, which is going to make the contact of the cluster a bit more difficult there for Maguire. Ultimately, I think the positional shot on the blue of the second red is going to be more of a logical approach there for him. But it doesn't actually mean that. He has to try and take those 2 reds first. Ooh, bit of a bounce shot there. Gave me a bit of a sort of vibes and a bit of a nostalgia of that shot that he's taken with the similar sort of force against Neil Robertson. I think it was in the Masters, where the red has jumped out of the pocket and rolled back in with a cue ball going into the green pocket at that time. So play the shot with a similar approach there, but that time, you know, the cue ball was bouncing before he touched the red, which of course he ain't going to be a foul shot called by the referee. Now he has got a couple of those reds available to himself, but the way he's playing the shot, he clearly has a bit more of those, with the plans being taken into the right corner. And yeah, I mean, he can try and take this one in, but not sure if he's going to be able to sort of get the perfect traction on the cue ball and get himself lined up for the blue to be taken, which is going to be the requirement there for him. Is he going to have 2 reds with 1 shot there? He is. So 2 reds taken at the same time, one into the right and one into the left corner. And at this stage, you probably have to say it's a bonus for Maguire, because it's 1 more red that he eliminates, and it's the one that Chomp will never be able to recover if he is to try and get himself back in this frame. Ooh, risky shot on the blue, using all of the pockets with at that time, but still ultimately still going to have himself lined up for the left corner to be taking the red in. And just having a look to see if he's going to be able to go back for the blue once again. I don't really think that, you know, Maguire is making the most out of this position, because ideally what you want to have is position on the black and just try and have those reds to be potted into left and right corner there without using the middle pocket for now. But that doesn't seem to be the world that Stephen Maguire finds himself in. He manages to avoid the cannon on the reds, and yeah, a little bit of the contact on the blue, which is going to have the blue left out in a straight line there. So not the worst case scenario. You can try and play the shot with a bit of the backspin. Maguire needs to win this frame big time. Yeah, he does. And ultimately, I think he needs to come into the interval with... Listen, it depends what you talk about. If you want to make this call and respective, I think you have to win at least one of those frames. But if you want to try and fight for the win, you have to win those 2 frames. Because if you're going to have the Watchalong to be heading into the intermission with sort of a 3-1 advantage, I don't really see Steve Maguire winning the second in this session with a scoreline of, I don't know, 5 frames to 2 out there, which is what it's going to take there for Maguire to beat Trump in that case scenario. For now, take it one break at a time there, 33 points, so the best stat we've seen of Maguire so far. And just having a look to see if he's going to have that red available into the right corner. After the black is going to be taken into the same pocket there. So those 2 reds with 3 blacks now, with the first one disappearing. And 40 points of an advantage. Ooh, Maguire tried to go for a split of the bunch, but this time around, he has worked out absolutely perfectly. He had a couple of those wobbly ones in the previous frames, but this one could not have worked out any better there for him. And he's going to have a majority, if not all of those reds, available there for him for the taking. And it's a lovely little shot there, taken really nicely by Maguire. As he rolls the red into the right corner, gets himself lined up for the black once again. And yeah, getting on the black for the previous shot was very important there for him, for the simple reason of he allows the player to have full control over the way you're going to have the reds set up, and with the way you're going to have that positional play on the cue ball's point of view. And ultimately, you know, having that nice little cannon onto all of those reds has managed to sort out all of his issues in a single shot out there. And now, I mean, he's got 4 reds easily available there to himself, which is going to be more than enough there. Maguire, one of the best cue actions in the game. I mean, I'll be brutally honest with you. I wouldn't really say that he's the first player that comes into mind, but I wouldn't really argue with you, because I just think, yeah, sorry, I just thought about the shot that he's played. The cue power action, I think is that what you mean. And that is absolutely perfect. I mean, that one's going to take you. That one I'm actually going to give to you, because the way he plays those shots, he can try and have the cue ball to cover up the entire table length for it to go down for the red into the lower part of the table, and then for it to drag it back for the ball colours. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Some of the shots that he's taken is absolutely mind-blowing there. I thought you were talking just the way he navigates the cue ball through around those reds. Still think there's going to be a bit of a competition there in that aspect, but when it comes to cue power and action, it's not going to be anyone on the 2, just like Stephen Maguire. Might not always work out, and you might have a couple of reds or cue balls to be dropped out of the table, but ultimately, when it works out, it's an absolute privilege to watch there. And now it's a frame ball there for Maguire to try and take 63 points of an advantage, 67 on the table. So it does look like it is going to be the one sort of break visit to the table, and it is going to be the one that gets Steve Maguire over the line, plays the red nicely into the left corner, and works the white. Yeah, I mean, he works the white with those power shots brilliantly. Wants to roll the pink in to ensure that he's going to be away in this frame, and not going to have Judd to come back at the table for any more of those shots in frame number 3. And of course, the break of 70 points is going to mean that he has got a nice little chance for a century break himself. We have seen a break of, I think it was 100 points exactly there from Chubb. And now it is going to be a break of 71 points and counting from Stephen Maguire. So it certainly is going to be a frame taken nicely. Game on, GG's, yes. But ideally, it is going to be game on for frame number 4. But if it's going to be the scoreline of 3 frames to 1, you ain't really going to be GG's in frame number 5 there. So you have to ensure you're going to be able to win the next frame. He's got the momentum. He's got the sort of traction, if you want to call it. And he's actually managed to play some great stuff right now. Managing to have majority of the positional play at the current break work out for him perfectly. Not this shot, though. I mean, that was a perfect jinx. Yeah, I mean, the timing of that could not have been worse, because literally as soon as I said these positional plays have been perfect, the cue ball has run in behind that red, which didn't actually make the shot available into any of the pockets. So the break of 86 points, not quite a century break, but still a lovely little performance there for Steve Maguire, that he's going to get him within touching distance there of Judd Chomp. It is now the world number 1, 2, Steve Maguire 1. Is there 2 tables playing? Yes. Thank you for reminding me. Sejawi has gone on again 1-0 against Ryan Day earlier. Let's see if it's going to be... Ooh, Sejawi's running away with it. He's got 3-0 points of an advantage there over Ryan Day, and 2 of those frames has seen Day with absolutely no points scored. Still yet to see a century break though from Sejowi, but has made the breaks off sort of the points tally of 80 plus in every single one of those frames. So Sejowi, of course, is going to be up against Judd, so it depends on when that match is going to be played. I think it's going to be the one to do a watch-along for as well, because it is going to be a real test, especially Sejowi is going to be able to play the way that he has played so far against Ryan Day. It is going to be a test there for either Judd or Stephen Maguire, if Ryan Day, of course, is unable to find the comeback and get himself for the last 16 spot. He's played quite well in the sort of qualifying rounds. I think he's managed to defeat Hossein Wafai in the Judgment Day Showdown. And ultimately got himself lines up for the side of the draw and the quarter side of the draw of the world number 1 now. That, so far you have to say, it's actually managed to perform quite nice snooker there at times. That long red that he's taken in frame number 3 has actually cost him dearly. But apart from that, you have to say that haven't been too many mistakes there from Judd here. As now he rolls the cue ball onto the lower part of the table once again there for the break-off shot. And let's see what we're going to have now for another battle of the safety play. Back to Maguire he goes. And he had that red chump to go out onto the top part of the table in a way which usually would have it available for the right middle, but not this time around, especially with the cue ball placement. Maguire will maybe try and go for it into the right corner though. He has, and he has missed it. So it probably was one of those shots which was worth taking on, for the simple reason of, if you're going to give anything away to Chomp, it's going to be the same red which you miss. So it's one of those where it's a risk, but probably is a calculated risk there from Maguire. And he was quite close to getting the positional play on the black as well. But, of course, the downside of that is going to be a lovely little shot like that being played by Judd for the safety play. And he is going to have Steve Maguire in a bit of trouble, especially if he's not able to get through to the edge of that red and try and get the cue ball onto the top part of the table here. Has to be very careful with the jaws of the pocket now, and Mr. Blue on the way back managed to take both of those points, and played the shot really nicely out there, because even though he's going to leave a red into the right corner, it's one of those which you never take on as a professional, for the simple reason of, you can pot the red in, but the cue ball is going to be heading right into the mix of reds, and it's not going to guarantee you anything of the positional play, and therefore you're going to have just a safety being played from Judd, and the thinnest of contacts out there, but with the pace that Chomp has played this shot, you actually feel like he was trying to do this thing, but surely he caught this one way too thin. But as I say, he's landed perfectly onto behind the bulk line, not leaving any of those reds on, and maybe that actually was the approach there for him, but of course leaving absolutely no margin for error in that case scenario. Chomp will have to go back to his chair now, but is he going to be for long? Is he going to be a fluke dropped in? It will be. And it is going to be Stephen Maguire with, I was going to say a chance, but probably it's just going to be 1 point there for him. And one of those flukes which you're going to see out there, but probably not going to get Stephen Maguire into anything other than just a single point scored. But of course, the counterpoint to that can be, if the red doesn't drop in, Chomp is going to have the red over the left corner pocket, which he certainly will take, and try and get himself lined up for one of those colours. Hi Letitia. Back in the chat you go, and it did look like Stephen Maguire was actually trying to attempt the green double into the left corner throughout the entire table length, and of course, that wasn't the case. He was just trying to get the cue ball lined up perfectly onto the ball cushion. I think he's actually managed to do that quite nicely. So gives the turn back to Chomp. And it depends if he's got the angle to try and produce a cross double there. Try and send that red into the left corner. Get the cue ball lined up for the top part of the table. And have himself set up for one more safety battle out there. Hopefully not leaving any of those reds available into the left corner, which I think is going to be the main danger point there for him, which is why it's actually going to be, I think, more of against him, the fact that he's going to try and roll the cue ball in towards the green pocket. That way, if Maguire is going to have anything of a setup for a long shot, it's going to be diagonal one, which usually you see players take with a bit more of a success percentage out there. Trump hasn't played the shot well at all. He's caught the double kiss on the way back for the cue ball, and certainly going to have the red available now for Maguire. The question is, which one is it actually going to be there? Well, I mean, I say certainly he's going to be the red taken. Maguire does seem to refuse it, and gets a bit of a lucky kiss of the blue as well on the way back for the cue ball. So, was he trying to play a safe shot there? Clearly not fancying to try and go for that red cut into the left corner for the cue ball, sitting on the cushion at that time. And the kiss that he had on the blue is going to mean that Chomp is not going to have a lot of invitation to his name either. And he's going to try and roll the cue ball for the lower part of the table once again. Roll it into the black. Send it towards the left-hand side of the table. Play the shot nicely once again. So Maguire is going to have a relatively straightforward safety shot to try and play of himself. The right-hand side of the main pack of reds is going to be waiting there for him. And two-cushion escape for the cue ball to be guided on towards the black ball cushion. And way off into the top part of the table and beyond the bulk line. I think he's going to be the approach. 85% of a safety success for each of those two. So that aspect of the game seems to be pretty sort of even there if you look at the stats. But I don't think this one is going to be classified as a good safety shot out there. Although, I mean, I said that probably a bit too soon with the reds spraying out there from Maguire and a couple of those going very close to left and right corner pocket. But he managed to get the perfect cue ball control and allowing the white up for the ball cushion, having the yellow in behind and in between the cue ball and that red into the right corner. So in the end, you probably have to say it's a brilliant safety shot out there. Yeah, it does seem like, you know, when you look back at it, once again, you look at the first phase, it did look like he actually misjudged the cannon on the cue ball, because there was no way you would think that he was trying to get so much traction on all of those reds for him to spread so wide out. But with the way he's managed to actually end up with the cue ball control, I have to say, it's a brilliant shot there, well taken there by Maguire. And he certainly will have Judd jump into a lot of thinking time and maybe a lot of trouble when he plays this shot on. Hasn't got anything available into the right hand side of the table, so he can try and exploit something on the left hand side of it. But the question is going to be, what can he actually do from here? You know, he's going to be able to roll the red into the left corner now. I mean, he can, but once again, I think he's going to have the cue ball stuck in amongst those reds with no real chance of getting out of that jail, and also just taking a shot which is going to be very difficult to make it, even without focusing on the positional play. 90 seconds taken already on the shot, and still no sign of Chomp actually making his mind up on the shot that he's going to take on right now. So all of that probably is going to be suggestion that things are going to start happening now in this frame. Whether it is going to be in the favour of Chomp, I think it was a miscue. Of course, watching that with no audio, but with the way he's taken the shot on, you know, he's basically gone, the cue ball has gone away from the sort of the trajectory that Trump was lining the shot up for. Let's have a little look here. Yeah, it is clearly a miscue there, so you can see that a lot clearer in the replay. Still manages to get to the reds though, but it is going to be a red available for Stephen Maguire to be taken into the right corner. And once again, another chance there for the Maverick. The first shot is going to be very difficult there for him nevertheless. For him to try and get the cue ball position on the blue. Not perfect, but not bad. Going to have that one lined up for the right middle. Not going to be an issue in terms of dropping the blue in, but ultimately, you know, you're going to have the cue ball to be lined up for the bulk line and the ball colours. So it has to make it the way up and down the table to bring it for the reds to be available into the corner parts of the table. So playing the shot with a bit of power. A bit of power means less control, and finds the gap in between the yellow and brown nicely. Is he going to be able to find the red in though? I think he will. So it's a lovely little shot, nicely taken there for Maguire. It's a break of 6 points now. You have to say that pink, black, green being out of position is not going to help his chances there of making this break. The one that actually wins him the frame and ensures that it is going to be 2 frames each with us going into the intermission. Yeah, the way that Maguire is taking a lot of time on those shots probably is going to suggest that it is going to be a problem there for him to try and navigate the cue ball on for the blue, especially at the early stages of the break. Let's see if he's going to be able to do it this time around though. Gets the red in nicely. Needs the cue ball to speed up though. Doesn't want to be straight on it, and I think he is going to be slightly straight. So I'm not sure if he's got even a minor bit of angle, because you know, that way he's still going to have a red available, but ultimately you want to have the red available with full control of the cue ball, trying to guide that one. If not for the top part of the table, then at least for the middle part of it, for the blue to be taken for the next shot as well. So a little bit of a stun shot on the cue ball to get himself up lined up with the angle on the next red to be taken into the left corner. And I mean, I say the further you get in this position, the easier it's going to get there for him, but it's going to get some time there for Maguire, because you want to have at least pink or black re-established back on their spots. But I mean, realistically, I don't really think there's a way for you to pot the black right now, which is going to mean that you're going to have to try and pot the pink and have the black spot sort of free of any captivity of the red's point of view. Now another red taken nicely there from Maguire, but over on slightly for the blue, which at this stage is going to be inevitable there for him. Going the long way, all the way around those reds. Every single time he has to try and find the next colour there for him after that red shot. Off into either left and right corner. To try and take this blue into the middle. And yeah, he's taken a bit of the gamble, and I think ultimately he was ready to walk back to his chair there, thinking that there was going to be a red to drop in straight after the blue, which of course would have been a foul shot there for him, but ultimately he stayed out over the pocket. And let's see if Maguire is going to be able to take the shot away from the left corner pocket and ultimately get the cue ball lined up for at least one of those colours. 28 seconds is the average shot time there for Maguire. And I think you have to say that that is going to be compromised massively by the fact of the 2 breaks that he had to his name have actually been quite difficult there for him to manage at the early stages. And then, of course, you're going to have the safety battle, which normally would have a lot of time taken by the players anyway. Yeah, he's played the shot with a lot of power on the cue ball, but a lot of power doesn't mean like it's going to be enough there for him. And, I mean, if he's going to have to take this blue on, he's going to have to bridge over the green. And the average shot time on the break is 32 seconds. So, in fact, his safety shots have actually been quicker in terms of average shot time taken. If you compare it to the shots that he's, the time that he's taken in between those shots when he's actually been for a chance of scoring the break here. Once again, manages to roll the blue in, but the fact that he's rolled it, running himself out of position now off those reds, and of course that's going to result in the fact of a very complicated shot in terms of not only does he have to get the red in perfectly into the corner, but also you get a lot of power on it. All that cue action has to come in place there for him and get himself lined up for either blue or bold colours. And once again, I mean, it's probably one of those situations where he actually managed to get too much of the cue action and played the shot really nicely there, getting the red in pretty much into the heart of the pocket and getting himself lined up pretty straight for the brown to be taken into the green pocket. Well, I think he can try and bounce the cue ball away off the left-hand side of the table and off the left side cushion. He's going to have a couple of those reds waiting there for him, but he is considering to go for the yellow. I mean, the yellow is going to have a natural angle there for him to bring the cue ball down the table, but it's also going to have a natural angle of having that opportunity of missing the yellow and leaving this position very much towards the chance of Judd for it to be taking it. And clearly the chance of trying to get the cue ball off the side cushion and into the pack of reds wasn't actually an availability there for Maguire, so he just has to try and stun the cue ball, getting himself lined up for a mid-range shot now off this red to be taken, and try and hopefully for himself line himself up for a shot of the cue ball to be taken into the blue line. Any live stream platform, not for a platform, I think WSD Play or TNT is going to be the way for you to watch it. The cue ball is going to be close towards the green pocket, and it is going to be in the green pocket out there. Unlucky cannon for Maguire as he rolls the red in, but ultimately he's going to run himself not only out of position on the colours, but also going to have a ball in hand given away to Judd, as well as 4 points that he's going to have to pay there for Chomp. So 26 points of an advantage there, and a red very close to the left corner pocket. When you're watching, as I say, I'm watching this one on WSD Play, and I've got the, on the TNT Sports 2, and I've got the WSD Play as the backup there for me. And Chomp played the shot perfectly out there, and what a lovely shot selection that is for him, because, you know, he had to make sure he got the red in, and he not only did he manage to do that, he also got himself perfectly set up for the blue to be taken. Not quite in a straight line, but just having enough of the angle there to try and send the cue ball down the table. Try and have a majority of those reds to be sent away from the pink ball zone. And hopefully for Chomp, try and re-establish their second most expensive colour on the table back on his spot very, very soon there. And make this comeback very much possible there for him at that stage. I think he's going to have this pink lined up for the left corner to be taken. Big visit, yes, it is for Chomp, but I still think he's going to be able to make this visit the one that counts, especially if he manages to knock the pink in now, get himself lined up for the next red, which probably is going to be the shot into the right corner there for him. Thought for a second that he was going to try and take the one along the left-hand side cushion, but not on this occasion, and doesn't have to take any risk right now, because he's still currently 13 points down, having 4 reds in available play, and 2 more of those, not so much in open play. On the table, Sejawi versus Ryan Day. Yes, Letitia, it was 3-0 when I last checked, in favour of Sejawi. So I would expect the players to go into the interval very, very quickly out there. And same can be said about table 1 now, where there is going to be Judd Chomp to be taking this one into a 3-1 of a cushion. Oh, it is going to be 2 frames each there from Maguire's point of view. 6 points of an advantage there for Maguire at this stage, as Chomp gets it down to 5. Gets himself lined up for the pink once again. 2 more reds, 2 more pinks is going to get him onto 14 points, so 20. Yeah, he's going to have sort of a 15 points of advantage there going into the last 2 reds. So we'll need both of them. And yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of a problem there for Chomp, because apart from those 2 reds, there's not really an issue on the snooker table there, because you're going to have the green, which is out of position, but still very close to the left middle pocket. So, you know, if Chomp is to make a late mistake on either one of those 2 reds, it is going to be a nice chance presented to Maguire. So that's something for Chomp to be mindful of. As he stands, he's 2 points clear of Maguire, trying to go for the pink, to be taken once again into the right corner, which does seem like, if you can't fail the eye test, but ultimately it does seem like one of those pockets that Chomp seems to exploit a bit more there for him throughout the match so far. Maybe coincidence, maybe not so much. 8 points of advantage, so as I say, 15 points if he's going to be able to take this red with the pink one more time. And then that's where the fun is going to begin there for him. I mean, he can try and nudge the cue ball with a lot of backspin on the black now, if he's got the ultimate angle there. And yeah, he's gone for the pink shot selection, but I think he's underrun badly for it. Yeah, he's going to have the angle to send the cue onto the top part of the table, but he wants it on the left-hand side cushion. And he's just having a look to see if he's going to be able to just hold the cue ball for this red to be taken. Of course, still has to make sure he's going to be able to get the pink in when he's holding up all the power for the cue ball. Just so easy to take the eye off the pot. Not this time around, though. So, shot nicely taken there. 15 points of advantage. So, those 2 reds with high-value colours, he's going to be able to ensure that it is going to be sort of a 29, 28 points of an advantage there for Chomp, which ultimately at this stage is going to mean that he's not going to need the 6 colour clearance, which is going to be available there for him anyway. Takes the red in nicely along the cushion. Under on for the pink slightly. And let's see what the shot is going to be taken now. Don't think he's going to have this red available into the left corner. So he clearly was trying to nudge that one away from the black. Didn't manage to do it though. So 22 points of advantage. 35 still remaining on the table. Maguire very eager to come back into the action. I think it's just a matter of seconds until he does so. I think Chomp can try and roll the cue ball in behind the black for a little snooker approach. And I think he's played the shot pretty nicely because it was very important for him to try and get that red away from the cushion for him to force Maguire into taking that shot with extra caution. Ultimately could give him a couple of points as well. Ultimately 22 points of an advantage. Does mean that, Chomp needs a red and an expensive colour with it, and he'll be able to get himself lined up for a 3-1 cushion. Maguire needs the total clearance now for it to be level going into the intermission, and we are going to see a bit of a hidden hope, but yeah, Maguire will know that will stink because it was a hidden hope, and he managed to roll the cue ball in a straight line out there for it to wobble. 1, 2, 3, I think 4. I mean, he's saying to the referee that I think he actually managed to catch the red. I'm not sure whether that was the conversation that they were having, but anyway, it ain't going to matter because Chomp is going to be able to take this red in and get himself lined up for a 3-1 cushion. Game still alive. I think that message was from a couple of moments ago. Not so much now. He does that a lot. He did a Maguire. He does, but usually he does it when there's so much of a distance in between the cue ball and the red. But that time around, I mean, there was no way. If you're going to take that shot on, there's no way you can actually afford to miss the actual red on, because with the way that you're going to have this cue ball position, you're always going to have it sort of in a straight line bouncing off the left and right side cushion. And that was exactly the case. Now it is going to be 34 points of an advantage as Chomp plays a nice little double as well. So clearly enjoying himself. And yeah, it is now going to be all sorts of problems there from Maguire's point of view. Because even though the brown will stay out, it is going to be the intermission, which is going to be waiting there for us. And it is Judd Chomp heading into the intermission with a 3-1 frame of a cushion. Stephen Maguire had his chances, but ultimately it weren't enough to challenge Judd Chomp to a level scoreline. GG's and GG's it is, and probably is he going to be GG's in the entire match out there. Meanwhile, on table number 2, Xiaowei is running away with it. 3 frames out of 4. He managed to close out with Ryan Day not scoring a single point, and he's now only 2 frames away from booking an appearance in the last 16. Whether it is going to be against Judd Chomp or Stephen Maguire, we're yet to find out. And we will do after the intermission break, so about 39-40 minutes past, and we'll be back with you with more action of snooker back here at York. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, now the intermission is over and let's get back into the action and let's actually see if we're going to see a lot more of the action, or is it going to be more or less the same performance from Judd's point of view, and he's going to be able to just run away with it from Stephen Maguire, and the Scotsman is not going to be able to respond to it, and they'll certainly back. And is it going to be over soon for Maguire? I think the blueprint is there. I think if you're going to have the opening mini session end up with a scoreline of 3 frames to 1, I think it's only logical for you to assume the second one is going to be more of the same there for him. And ultimately, as I say, the scoreline of 6 frames to 4 is going to be a massive challenge there for Maguire to achieve at this stage. And the prediction of 6 frames to 2 of a win for Judd's point of view is going to be a logical prediction for me at this stage. But of course, that will require Chom to try and maintain quite a high standard that he managed to set so far, as he goes for a safe shot selection. So trying to make sure that he was going to have the red over the right middle covered up there by the bench of reds. And I think ultimately he's managed to do that. But is he not allowed sort of Maguire to go for a little plant into the same right middle there? Let's see if he's going to be able to go for that one. And in the end, probably just trying to guide the cue ball into the top part of the table once again. Pot success 92% for Stephen Maguire, 93 for Judd Trump. So, long pot success 75 for Maguire, 64 Trump. I mean, that is interesting so far. Average shot time 29 seconds for Stephen and 20 seconds for Judd. And you look at those stats and you feel like it's Maguire that should be winning 3-1 there, because, you know, highest break still pretty even. 100 for Judd Trump and 86 for Maguire. Ooh, Trump was really close to trying to get the red in to the right corner. Gets the cue ball in behind Brown now, though. Total points 237 for Judd Trump and 156 for Stephen Maguire out there. Table time 47%, 53% for Stephen Maguire. Once again there, it just tells you that Maguire had a chance, you know, certainly to be heading into the intermission back level. And, you know, maybe had he not lost out on the opening 2 frames, would have been able to try and apply the pressure for him actually being the player that was ahead there going into the interval. Now, let's see if he's going to be able to get the cue ball through to that red into the right middle. And, I mean, realistically, the only shot that I can see him trying to play is probably trying to guide that red in towards the one, which is very close right now to the right corner pocket, and try and take that one out from the danger zone. And that's exactly the shot that Stephen Maguire's gone for. And you have to say, he's played that one pretty well. And right now, is he going to have anything given up to Judd Trump in terms of the attacking opportunities? He's going to have a couple of easy safety shot selections there for Trump. And yeah, Judd straight away just having a quick glance to the lower part of the table, refusing all of those reds. So just playing a little double for the cue ball to be lined up on the bulk cushion once again. So let's see if Maguire's going to be able to play a couple of more of those good safeties there to his name. Try and get the cue ball lined up for the lower part of the table once again, the right hand side of those reds. And nice and easy escape for the 2 cushion. And in behind the cluster of brown and green. Decent in terms of pace there, not so much in terms of the actual line that the cue ball was taken. And he's going to have a couple of those reds left out there for Judd Trump. Not too sure if he's going to be able to sort of take them without leaving anything easy there. Stu Maguire gets a little bit of a kiss of the pink. In the end, he's not going to have a negative impact there on Trump. And he's going to have the yellow to be lined up very much close to the cue ball. But in the end, I think it is still going to be the right-hand side of the table for Maguire to try and exploit. And the red that seems to be currently in the way of the black ball. If you want to take it into the right corner, I think he's going to be taken out of its surrounding right now. And yeah, that's not how you play a saving shot there from Maguire's point of view. Once again, a mistake and catches the backhand jaw of the middle pocket. And he's going to have the cue ball to be bounced back onto the lower part of the table once again. And yeah, playing the shot way too thin, you would think, at that stage. And not getting anywhere near as much control of the cue ball as he would have liked. And yeah, he knew that one as soon as he hit it. it wasn't going to be a nice outcome there for him. Let's see what Chomp has actually got to his name, because the fact that he's lining up a shot along the cushion, which is going to be a very difficult one for him, not only to actually try and pot it, but also try and get on the next colour. As I say there, the black, I think it's possible into the left corner, but it's going to be a challenge there for Chomp to actually get to that zone. And yeah, playing that attacking shot pretty much with a safety in mind. Is he going to have the same red to drop? No, he won't. And the same red he's going to have, he's going to be available there to Maguire. We're back certainly, Letitia. And Chomp doesn't seem to be back to his best yet. It is the first round though. And Sija, we remember seeing on the second table, I think he was very close to going 5-0 up against Ryan Day. And Maguire rolls the red into the left corner this time around. So is he going to be on the yellow? He will be. But is he going to have the angle that he would be seeking for right now? Try and play this one with power and pace on the cue ball's point of view. And try and get himself lined up for that red to be taken into the left corner. And I think play this one with a bit of pace there. Play around there. Cluster of green and brown. Get yourself lined up for the red to be taken into the left corner. And I'm not sure if that was the approach that Maguire has taken, but anyway, he's going to get him into a nice little position there of having the red available into the left corner. I mean, he doesn't seem to be too happy with the way he's finished up on this one, but there's no way that it could have been any nicer, because he already managed to get the cue ball to travel pretty much the entire length of the table from the rest shot. And certainly talking about cue action, I think he's going to be a bit mindful of the fact that if he plays this red, which is close to the black, he's going to cut in the white into the colour itself, and therefore makes the next shot tricky there for him to, well, first of all judge, but also try and make sure that he's going to have a natural angle on the black, which is going to get him on the next red there. So a couple of important shots here for Maguire, and the first red into the left corner for him to try and start with. So takes this one in, still going to be on the black. So I mean, he was trying to sort of guide that red into the lower part of the pocket, and actually managed to play the shot really nicely out there. And right now he's on break of 4 points, still 131 on the table, as he tries to roll the black into the left corner. Still not going to be an easy one, but it could have been a lot more difficult there for himself. And it's a shot nicely played there for him. I think he would have liked to have the cue ball to roll through a bit more, to have it set up for the right corner, but ultimately he's still going to have a shot into the right middle, which shouldn't be a problem there for him. Once again, unlike what we've seen in the previous frame, it is going to have a couple of colours back on their spots there, try and exploit them in terms of trying to have a break of 60 points to his name. And first shot played quite nicely, powers the cue ball towards the black, even though he's going to have a bit of the angle once again. Should be manageable there for Stephen. And after this shot, he should be lined up for the perfect and a prime break position. And positional success 71% there. So it's just gone down, by the way, 70%. So that's a bit weird, even though he hasn't actually run himself out of position on this red. So he's hopefully going to be getting back into the 80 zone. Still having 5 more reds available after the one that he's just taken into the left corner. Still yet to play the black after this one. So 27 points. Once again, does seem to be a bit of a magical number for Maguire, because in the previous frame, of course, he has managed to have 26 points of an advantage there, until we have seen that little break from Judd, which in the end proved to be the one that actually won him that frame and got him that 3-1 cushion going into the intermission. Come on, Maguire, frame on. Yes, it is frame on. And of course, it will be a perfect start there to the second mini session from Maguire's point of view. Certainly will be game on in the match there as well, because I think out the opening 5 frames, for you to be 1 frame down, it ain't going to be the worst case scenario. You know, as I say, once again, he has played some good stuff previously. Well, nice little shot for the black once again. Getting the cue ball into the reds. Risk-free shot with having a red available into the left corner, which he'll take right now. and use all of the jaw of the pocket. So I think just asking the referee to give a little bit of the maintenance job on the cue ball and try and clean it. I really think that would prevent the sort of hit through shots, the spin, or anything else sort of working out not in a proper manner there for Maguire. And Chomp doesn't seem to be very relaxed out there in his chair. Of course, that average shot time taken by Maguire being quite low, quite in high numbers will be a sign that, you know, Chomp has to spend the majority of the table time sat in his chair and therefore being cold and not really enjoying himself out there. And that's why Chomp has to make sure, both, of course, same goes for Maguire, but both of them have to make sure that they're going to be taking the most out of their chances. And, of course, the chance that, you know, Chomp had to try and roll the red into the left corner. Not necessarily roll the red, but played through it. Didn't land on any of the colours anyway, and left the red over the corner pocket after it has jumped out and travelled to width of the table out there. Or chalk Maguire. Well, I mean, you could say all chalk Maguire. I mean, I think Trump uses all chalk as well, and we have seen one miscue from him previously. Let's see if we're going to have a similar sort of thing now from Maguire's point of view. 51 points scored there by Steven, so second 50-plus break there for him, and we all know what happened in the first one. He has managed to take it into a frame win, and didn't really leave any more of a chance to drop Chomp away. Chomp changed to new Chomp. Has he? Okay. When was that then? So don't tell me it was like 4 years ago, because is that gonna make me look like an idiot? Like, because I'm saying like it was a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago or something. But I always thought you was using the old chalk for whatever reason. I know the class of 92 do. I know that some of the other players do, but I always thought Chomp was in that sort of category not long ago. Good, thank you. As I say, it was very important for my self-esteem for that to be the case. Now, 60 points of an advantage there for Maguire. Still 75 on the table. So the next, a red plus black combination. And you can slit a bit. Well, as I say, you know, you always have that conversation of the new chalk actually make sure that you're not going to have a miscue, and then all of a sudden, you know, Chomp actually had one earlier, and hopefully, of course, that won't be the case on the current break here for Steven Maguire. That is on the frame ball as it lined up right now into the left corner, and takes it nicely. So the cue ball to be lined up for the top side of the blue once again. I mean, could we see a century break once again? I know they said that previously, and Maguire run himself out of position on one of those last of the two reds. And it certainly is going to be GG's now, because it is Steve Maguire running away with it now. Good to see him actually trying to close off the frames in the fashion that you give me one chance, and that's the last we're going to hear of you in this frame. We've seen that in frame number 3, and now we've seen that in frame number 5. So far, only the odd frames are being won there by Maguire. Let's see if he's going to be able to put that tendency to bed and get himself into 3 frames each going into the next frame. Maguire on fire, he is. And when Maverick's on fire, you have to make sure you're going to be able to do something about it there for Judd Chomp. But ultimately, it is 81 points of an advantage there for Maguire. So closing in on that break of 86 points achieved in frame number 3. And edging out on the century break. And meanwhile, I just want to have a look to see if it is 5-0 of a scoreline in the other match. And it is about to be 6-0. I mean, that is absolute. It feels a bit bad for Ryan Day's point of view, but you have to say, I mean, if Judd manages to get that clash with CJRE on, I mean, that will be an absolute blockbuster, because to defeat Ryan Day in, what has it been, less than 2 hours, if you take away the intermission break of 15 minutes, I mean, Day had his day, good one. I mean, he was playing quite well, as I say, in the qualifying rounds, he was actually playing quite well. He managed to defeat Hossein Wafai in quite an interesting match out there. And ultimately, listen, he weren't enough to stop CJRE. And in a couple of moments' time, I think he will be the winner of the entire match there with a score of 6 frames to 0. And by the way, I mean, it's difficult to tell you how difficult it actually is for the players, especially the Triple Crown events, for them to produce a whitewash. And it is going to be a century break, though. And it is going to be a break of 103 points. Judgment Day was good. It was. It genuinely was. Both of them were. You know, you talk about the sort of Tom Ford Shu C match, which has gone way over midnight. Or the David Gilbert against, I think it was, who was it then? Daniel Wells decider as well. And Gil was able to overcome all of those battles there for himself. And century for Maguire, it certainly is going to be. And still can have the break of 126 points. 36, I should say. But the pink is going to be very much the enemy of that. And that Cubo is just being guided towards the green pocket once again on every single shot there from Maguire. And it does look like the break of 111 is going to be the one that actually sees Maguire to actually stop there in frame number 5 and take it into frame number 6. He's tried to have an ultimate cut on the green and ultimately not going to be able to do it. So it is now Judd 3 and Stephen Maguire 2 all to play for now. Maguire needs to make sure he's going to be in with a shout for the next frame once again. And when he is in with a shout, he has to make sure he takes that chance and applies a bit more pressure there from Judd's point of view. And indeed, it has been a brilliant performance from Si Jiahui that manages to be the first player to be booked into the last 16 spot. And he will face either Stephen Maguire or Judd Trump. Which one of them is yet to be decided, but you know, Trump is still a massive favourite going into the remaining potentially 6 frames out there if we are to go the distance, with him being 120 of odds to his name to actually be the winner of this match and 450 as it stands for Stephen Maguire's point of view. And loads of deceivers, I think, or you mean deciders? Decided for the Judgment Day, yeah. I think the interesting one was, I say, Gilbert against both Boyko and Daniel Wells. I think that was quite interesting to watch. Then we had a couple which don't really strike me. As I say, I think Ryan Day against Hussein Wafay, I think that was a decider as well. I think you had Julian Leclerc against Cher Gauchon. I think that was gone quite far as well. And yeah, you had so many of those. You could actually run yourself out. But ultimately having the likes of Stuart Bingham, and I'm pretty sure he was knocked out. I mean, I know that Carter was knocked out. I know that Lisowski was knocked out. I think Bingham was knocked out as well in one of the qualifying matches. And let's have a little look about it. Yes, so yeah, of course it was that dramatic battle of Scott Donaldson against Stuart Bingham, where Bingham was leading by 5 frames to 0. And Scott Donaldson managed to win 6 frames on the bounce. I think that's only 5th time in the history of snooker that's actually happened on a professional tour. And Bingham was 5-0 up. Yes, yeah, that's the one. And then, of course, a very emotional interview of Scott Donaldson where he was saying that, you know, he's managed to do it for his dad, which sadly passed away 5 months ago. And without him and his support, he wouldn't be able to do it. And it was just one of those special moments there for him. And certainly, I mean, as I say, it doesn't happen often in snooker for a reason. When you are 5-0 up, it's very difficult for you to actually lose that match, really. But of course, for the player that's actually behind, it's even more of a difficult task for you. But Bingham just doesn't seem to be that player recently, especially that does seem to sort of perform really well when he's sort of having that scoreline and those records against him. Of course, you can think about that final which he had against Neil Robertson last season, where he was playing really, really well. I think he was Players' Championship, and in the end, it turns up to the final playing really well. I think knocking out Judd Trump in the progress, and then loses out 10 frames to 0. Not really something that you want to be proud of, but as I say, Ali Carter, Stan Moody, and Jack Lisowski all being knocked out, alongside Stuart Bingham, probably the most recognisable names out there. So now we're going to get the wall out of the way, because there's not going to be any of the action on table number 2. Let's get the action on the first table up and running now, though, with Judd Trump break-off shot now. Has to be careful. The breaks of 111 and 86 previously from Maguire will just keep it in mind, Trump, but he's still playing against someone that could actually turn up with a brilliant snooker display, and so far has managed to show glimpses of that. Yet to show consistent form, though, from Stephen Maguire's point of view. And Yeah, he was happy to get... Yeah, certainly. And we're going to see him, a lot more of him in York now. Well, if he's going to be able to get through into the last of the rounds. And I think, you know, if you talk about qualifiers, and say Lee Beifan and Zhou Yulon are going to be the two players that you actually fancy getting quite deep into the tournament if they weren't actually up against Mark Selby and Ronnie O'Sullivan respectively. But I wouldn't really be surprised if one of those two actually managed to take and beat either Selby or O'Sullivan out there. And Trump going for a double, which did seem risky to be fair, but ultimately he wasn't leaving anything on there for Maguire apart from the same red that he was playing. And when I say risky, it was just that he played that one with so much power that the red technically could have gone anywhere. Try and have those reds to spread out and leave a chance on for Chomp at that time of asking. So let's see if Chomp is going to be sort of followed up by the same example there from Maguire's point of view. And Steven will go for a double attempt himself. And I think he has. Let's see if he's left that red into the green pocket though. And yeah, he's got the potential plant into the green pocket as well. But I think that one is going to be going a bit wide. So maybe one more double attempt. Or maybe just getting the cue ball lined up for the black ball cushion. One more safety to be played. Still potentially, of course, it could be 3 more frames. Or it could be 6 more frames out there. Depends on which way the match is going to go. If it's going to be a comprehensive win there from Chomp's point of view. Or it's going to be Maguire trying to take this one the distance. So now a bit of a slow burner this frame. With players just rocking the cue ball back and forwards. Chomp has got the advantage though at this battle because he does have that extra shot of playing the cue ball away from the bunch and ultimately just has to try and target those reds in the way there. Ultimately, at some stage, Maguire will run out of those reds to try and roll the cue ball in towards. I mean, is he going for this red to try and take it into the right middle? Thought Chomp played the shot pretty well there. The cue ball is going to be very close to the black ball cushion and ultimately he's missed that one by quite some margin. Let's see if the same one is going to be cuttable into the right middle. I don't think it will be. So it all comes down to if the other red is going to go past the green into the green pocket out there. I think, yeah, not really going to have anything other than that available to Chomp. So just having a look to see. So, I mean, in that way, probably was a really good and a smart short selection from Maguire because even though he had quite a high risk of leaving that red on, you know, if that's the only chance that you're going to give away to Chomp, it may not actually be the worst idea for you to try and actually take this one. Chomp has taken the same red along the right hand rail and trying to put it into the green pocket. Not this time of asking though. Got the cue ball into the safe zone. And once again, back to the safety we go. And yeah, Maguire just having a look to see if he's going to have the plant available into the right middle. He is having a very good look at this one. So clearly, seems to be interested by at least one of those reds. Judging the line once again there, just to ensure that his approach is going to be the right one to take. Because as I say, with this position, all the colours are on their spots. Quite a few reds going to be spread out if he takes the shot that I'm thinking of right now. He's going to have a lot to answer if he's not going to be able to make this one stick, but he will. So whatever he was looking there and whatever plan he managed to find, it does seem to work out perfectly there for him. And I mean, I've got no idea how he managed to spot that with it being basically a 4 red plant. But, you know, ultimate reward is there for him if he manages to knock the black in. With it being a bit far away from the cue ball though. And the angle is going to be minor of a problem there for Steven. Plays the shot beautifully once again there. Steven is back at this one. And of course it was very important for him to try and win the first frame back. Try and get the momentum of his own. And now he gets the ultimate reward now with the chance of making the scoreline 3 frames each. Having the perfect position up ahead of himself. And 4 ball plant rare. I mean, with the way he actually had that one lined up into the left middle, trying to get the cue ball along and sort of around the black spot, get it lined up for the left corner. I mean, technically, one thing that I will also say, well, too many reds on the top part of the table, but yeah, 1, 2. No, it's 5 red plant. It's not even 4 red plant, it's 5 red plant. That's what I'm saying, man. How did he manage to spot that? He's beyond me. But just keep an eye on this one. With him having such a perfect sort of situation with sort of 7 or 8 of these reds, had he not had 5 more onto the top part of the table and had them spread out in a way that you can try and play for the black, you know. And we did mention about a 147 this week. Lottery win. Well, I think it wasn't a lottery win, to be fair. I think, he's played that one in controlled way. And he was leaving a couple of those reds potentially on there for Chomp. So, clearly was trying to go for the attacking approach. But that was clearly calculated and planned there for him. And just having a look to see if he's going to be able to at least make the break, the one that takes him over the line in the frame. And then you never know. Anything that comes after that can be a nice little extra for Stephen Maguire's point of view. Rolls the cue ball perfectly off in between the reds and the pink. And gets himself lined up for that red to be taken into... that red to be taken into the left corner. Now gets himself lined up for the black to be taken here. And just having a look to see if he's going to be able to go for this black now. I think he potentially can try and play through the cue ball for a couple of more of those shots. As he gets himself 40 points now, so 5 reds, 5 blacks. Once again has a red available into the left corner to try and take. Play through and get the position on the black. So, you have 5 more of those reds, which are going to be currently in and around the pink spot. You take 10 blacks there, and, he's going to guarantee yourself a frame win, but also he's going to get yourself a nice little starter for maybe a nice little bonus surge for a 147 there. You never know. After we've seen one on the qualifying rounds on 2 occasions from Liam Pullen and Chang Bing-Yu. One of them, of course, was against Stephen Maguire in frame number 6. And now let's see what this shot is going to have Maguire left out with. Ooh, it's going to be very difficult for him to get on the black from this position unless he's got a plant into the left corner. So 48 points now for Maguire. Let's see if he's going to try and play for the black now. I think he probably has to. But, I mean, on the other hand, it is the UK Championship and he is up against the world number 1. So it will be his decision to try and make, and his decision is going to be to try and play for the blue or the green. So it ain't going to be an attempt for a 147, but ultimately, as I say, still could be one of those chances which is going to have Maguire as a massive favourite for taking this 6th frame and getting himself back level with Trump and just making it first to 3 at that stage. Could be anyone's match for the taking. And the final black on 147 was amazing. Yeah, I mean, a couple of wonderful shots out there. I still think that the Liam Pullen maximum has to be the best of the season for the simple reason of, he always knew that he had 2 difficult reds on the cushion throughout the majority of the break, and the 15th red that he was taking was a double into the right corner. It reminds you of the bit like that John Higgins double that he managed to take himself into the right corner. I think it was for a 147. May have actually been at the Crucible as well, but I don't think he's managed to make that 147 at that time. But the Chang Bin-Yu black into the left corner was certainly special. Playing that one with the rest after running himself a bit short on the pink, trying to put all of that power in that approach. Yes, against Trump. Yeah, he was. Yeah. Because I remember now that he was. Trump actually celebrating there for him when Higgins managed to get the red in. I was there. Well, as I say, certainly would have enjoyed that one, but a couple of moments later he was a disappointment. Now, not going to be a disappointment for Maguire's point of view, though, because even though it's not going to be a 147 attempt, it is going to be 68 points of a chance there for him to close off the frame and take it away from Judd. Now, 69 points is in the advantage. So, needs the pick now for a 75 points of a cushion. 75 on the table. And, I mean, it doesn't really make sense. How can it be 75 on the table if he's on the break of 75? So it has to be, clearly, just, there we go. Got that one sorted. 75 points and 67 on the table. And he now rolls the red in. Certainly all sorts of debates are going to be taken away now. It is going to be 3 frames each going into frame number 7. And it's a mini comeback there from Maguire, because he came into the second mini session being very much the underdog, being 3-1 down there to Chomp. And now he's managed to get 2 frames on the bounce. The breaks of 111 and 82 and counting. Maguire on fire, and it is certainly game on now. Because the way they have to try and approach this one, from Judd Trump's point of view, he's going to have to change now. He doesn't have that ability of maybe losing a frame or 2 out. Ooh, unlucky there with Maguire, just missing out on the red into the green pocket. So not going to be another century break, but it is going to be a break of 82 points to ensure that we're now back level there. It is Judd Trump 3, Stephen Maguire 3, with us heading into the frame number 7. So far, nothing to separate the 2 players, but this time around, it has to be Chomp that finds the response to the brilliant 2-frame form there that we have seen from Stephen Maguire so far. And now it's time for Chomp to try and respond there for himself. Is he going to be able to do that, though? We'll have to wait and see very, very soon. I think he can, but ultimately, I think he is going to be down to a couple of factors, because you're going to need a little bit of a drop back in form from Maguire's point of view, and also Chomp has to make sure he eliminates all sorts of those errors. You know, long shots, the red that he's taken along the cushion in the previous frame, which I think has resulted in a break of 111 points from Maguire, and now once again, just going for a bit of a rush decision at that time, not going for, you know, he's left that green on, he's left that red on there for Maguire. Even though, yes, you could say that he was a bit lucky after Maguire missed that red into the right middle. Trump was still taking that red on, needlessly, I think, into the green pocket. Was never going to make that stick. Didn't really take sort of a second, third look to see if he was going to leave anything on there. And then Maguire found that brilliant 5-ball plant there for himself, which has actually resulted in a break of 82 points. Once again, it is Stephen Maguire to break off to get the 7th frame underway here. Very close to the blue, though, from the cue ball. And not really a perfect break-off shot there for him. Could have been better. That's exactly the chance that Judd Trump will need there to his name. He's got the red available into the left corner. The angle on the cue ball should also see it go around the black and set up for the ball colours. Yeah, he's managed to get the red in, but I think the cue ball is going to be pacey now. Yeah, it's a waste there from Chomp. Should do better. It's a brilliant pot there from the Reds' point of view, but he should have held the cue ball. Should have held the cue ball a bit back, a bit more out there, and ultimately just has to earn a single point there, get the cue ball in behind the yellow, and give the turn back to his opponent. So once again, not a good chance there taken well by Chomp, but at least it's not one of those which has Maguire back at the table with a chance there of producing another 80 plus of a break. You know, the breaks of 86, 82 and 111, you have to say, when Maguire wins a frame, he certainly does it in style, but he ain't going to do that shot in style. It's a waste of a shot that from Maguire, because he played that one with too much power, and he had the cue ball to roll away from the Reds and have a couple of those set up for Chomp. Yeah, it's a really cheap escape there from Chomp, because, you know, it thought like it was a formality of a snooker for Maguire to try and get himself out of. Don't tell me Chomp hasn't actually played this one, so that red is not going to drop in. Oh my word, I mean, you're going to have UK champion of 2024 miss a shot like that with just not playing this one with enough power. Maguire probably has just turned into a favourite for this frame. Yes, he missed it by an absolute fraction, but that red should have been anywhere near as close to staying out of the pocket. And, I mean, it was a very cheap error from Maguire on the break-off. Then it was the error from Chomp to misjudge their cue ball position on the colour. Then Maguire makes an error trying to escape from a snooker. And then Chomp once again gets that red lining up on a plate there for Maguire. See, he's also on fire. Well, Schoolboy Error, yeah, it is. Say it certainly is on fire, and Ryan Day wasn't able to find the answer. He was able to sort of turn up, and that was the best thing that probably happened to him in this UK Championship main draw. As I say, had a decent performance in the qualifiers. As usual, we managed to produce a whitewash performance there, and he's going to be waiting for either Maguire or Judd in the last 16 of this great tournament. Well, now it is going to be one of the best chances which you're going to see Stephen Maguire presented with. And on the previous couple of frames, we have seen what happens with those chances. They do get utilised quite quickly there from Stephen. Let's see if this one is going to be sort of an exception, or is it going to be more of the same of what we've seen ever since that second mini session has started from Stephen Maguire. So far, he's on 2 reds and 2 blacks. Once again, I think he's going to have 5 reds available to his name. So he's managed to take the opening 2 and has 3 more there to his name. Maybe even sort of 4 more now that I look at the red, which I think he could try and get in behind off to try and play it into the right middle. You know, you play all of these reds with the black, and all of a sudden you're going to have a nice little cushion there to your name to try and run away with it now from Maguire's point of view. And of course, if he goes 4-3 clear, you can see a bit of a sort of reaction from Judd's point of view. Ooh, has he got unlucky with this one? He's played the shot really well, but has the red gone in the line and in the way of another red to be taken into the right middle? And the face expression of Maguire probably confirms that. That is super unlucky for him, because he got a very clean contact on the cue ball, managed to separate the reds out of the way, and yeah, just a fraction of the red is going to be in the way of another red into the right middle. I don't think he's got a plan B option, unless, of course, he wants to take the red into the green pocket, which is going to be a very difficult shot out there. I mean, of course, that only works out if the blue's not going to be in the way. I think that's what Maguire is checking right now. I think he will go past the blue, but at this stage, if he misses this red, it is going to be frame over, no matter how badly you think Judd is playing. So, yeah, Chump probably is going to... I don't know, would he want to see Maguire take this red on? Because if he makes it, it's frame over from Maguire's point of view. But if he doesn't make it, then it's going to be Chump with a great chance there to re-establish himself back in this frame. But I think Maguire's going to go for a sensible approach and just try and get the cue ball in behind the green. So the break of 24 points, I have to say, from the position that he had to his name, probably a bit of a waste. But ultimately, still better than giving an easy chance away to John. And of course, from Maguire's point of view, another point that you have to make is make sure that Trump is going to work for every chance that he gets. Because if you're going to give them chances, inevitably, one of them will allow him to click into the gear, and you'll be able to sort of find yourself sat in your chair for the majority of the remainder of the frame and have yourself in all sorts of trouble. For now, Trump has to find that long shot. You know, we have seen him make one already, but ultimately misjudged the positional shot on the ball colours. So there's not real sign that he can't do it again there. The first shot is decent there from Chomp, but I mean, he was clearly happy to leave that red into the right middle, which probably is going to be a sign that it's not going to be playable from the position that the cue ball finds himself in with Maguire. See if he's going to find any more of those beautiful shots to be taken into the right middle. He wants to avoid the brown though, as he takes the safety shot approach, and he hasn't managed to do it. So it is going to be a long shot available to Trump, but now you have to say, if he misses it, he will be in the world of trouble once again out there, because 23 points of advantage for Maguire at this position in his current state is going to be a very deadly of a weapon there for the Maverick to try and take it away from the ace in the pack. So logically, you probably have to say that Trump has to play a safety shot, but also, you know, you have to make sure that if you do play a safety shot, you play it well. And if the cue ball's going to pull up in behind the yellow, he certainly would have played it well. Marginal, very close to giving a red away into the right corner. I'm not sure if Maguire sees enough of that one. Trump doesn't seem to be too happy with that one, but Maguire seems to make his mind up very quickly on taking another red. And, even if he takes this red on, it's going to be very difficult for him to pot it. And he's taking the safety approach. And where's the cue ball going to finish? I think he's going to finish perfectly to have green cover up the right-hand side of the table in terms of the reds. And once again, Maguire's just able to take it a level above there of Chom so far in the performance. And, probably not quite yet, but if he is to win this frame, it is going to be Maguire that becomes the favourite in my eyes for the match to be taken away there from Chom. Certainly something that I didn't think was possible after Chom was 3-1 up there. But something that I thought was possible after seeing the qualifying rounds, but only with a scoreline of 0-0. When Chomp was 2-0 or 3-1 up there, didn't really think it was possible. But Maguire just showing that you shouldn't give up in snooker at any stage of the match. And of course, we have brought up the Scott Donaldson comeback against Stuart Bingham. Technically, nobody stops you from repeating that one if, of course, Chomp or Maguire were to go 5-0 clear. Something that Ryan Dale would have tried to hold on to, but only managed to sort of last a frame of distance out there until Sijawi completed the whitewash. And now Maguire, once again, just seems to be battling the demons inside of him of either going for the red into the right middle or just refusing that one and going for a safety shot instead. He knows better than anyone what Chom can do to the players that miss those reds and leave them on there for him on the plate. He's going to go for the green pocket shot. It's the wrong approach. He's going to miss it. Very important for him to avoid the double kiss though, because that was close. The cue ball, had he caught the red in, he would have been stopped sort of midway through the table and have a couple of those reds lined up for the left corner. Maguire loves Judgment Days, always wins. Well, that's the thing about him. He's able to grind out the matches and grind out the results there, which in snooker can be a great skill for you to have. Lovely skill there from Chom to make sure he's going to have the right-hand side of the table covered up himself. Potentially forcing Maguire to go for a bit of a sort of attacking approach. You can try and take the red into the left corner. Once again, sacrifice all the positional play in terms of he's going to have the cue ball heading in towards the reds and not inside the sort of guaranteed positional play of the colour. I think Maguire just asking the referee to ensure that he remembers the position right now, which is always a sign that he's going to try and get the thin edge of those reds. And managed to get it. Is he going to leave it over the right corner pocket though? You will. Needs the cover from the green. Has he got it? Don't think he has. The same red is going to be playable there. Maguire knows it. It was a chance. And now it is a chance there for Judd Chomp. It's a bit awkward in terms of it's a bit straight on this red. And Chomp will have a good look to see if the cushion is going to be in the way there for him, because preferably you want to play a little bit of a stun shot on this red. But even better if you can play this one with topspin and just drop the red in. And of course that's going to require the angle for the red. I think someone from the crowd being a bit too excited out there. Chom just taking his time to ensure he's going to be able to go down for the shot in a better fashion, in a controlled way. So nothing is going to be distracting him. But certainly doesn't. Let's have a little look, because it's the second time it happened, and I think the referee will have someone to be removed from the crowd. So let's see. Okay, so Chomp is saying that it's been 3 times now, and it's clearly saying, both of them are saying it's on purpose, therefore Kevin Dabrowski and Judd Chomp both agreeing that that person has to be removed from the crowd. Good afternoon. Could it go either way, I think? Well, absolutely, especially with this frame has gone. Now, very important shot now. Ooh. And that's why, if you take all that time and you're going to be distracted on the previous shot, it could be unfair on the player. And he has that red to jump out of the pocket. Chomp ain't going to be able to make it, and he's going to be absolutely fuming inside of him, and you can see it with his reaction. So play the shot, and yeah, he caught it with too much of the back end jaw. Not really acceptable, which is why you had to play that one with a bit of power. But it's all going off now. Maguire has a miscue, and ooh, that's going to be another chance given away here to Chomp here. Yeah, he was trying to go for a simple shot into the right middle, and missed that one by an absolute mile. I mean, I couldn't actually see a miscue on the replay, but with the way he's hit the shot, it probably has to be the verdict for me. Now, once again, another chance for Chomp. He's able to get the red in this time around, though. 22 points of a difference there in between the two of them. Maguire's an animal. Come on, Stephen. And Ronan, it is certainly looking like we're going to have a thriller of a frame. But it is going to be Judd Chomp with the advantage, because he's the player at the table. And that sort of a points difference in favour of Maguire is going to mean absolutely nothing in the next 3 or 4 shots. Because now 15 points of an advantage there. You take 2 reds with 2 blacks, 4 shots taken, and Judd Chomp will try and find himself ahead for the first time in this frame. Try and apply all the pressure with all those points, and ultimately having sort of out of those 9 reds which are currently in play, I think he's going to have 7 or 8 in brilliant position there for him, which is going to be more than enough for Chomp to try and take it away from Maguire and get himself lined up for a win in this frame, which is ultimately going to be very important there for him to have that 4-3 of a cushion. Didn't really play the shot well, and I think he's quite lucky to have that red into the left middle, because had that not been the case, he would have had himself in all sorts of trouble out there. So once again, just rolling the red in. 17 points on the break, and he's going to be on the wrong side of the blue, but I think that's on purpose, because he's going to have 2 reds onto the top part of the tape. What a frame, certainly. I mean, and what a time for us to be having this frame. Nothing to separate the 2 players, and with it being 3 frames each, 1 point in between the 2 players, and if Chomp manages to roll the red in, it is going to be back to square one. But of course, Chomp having the first shot there, and being on the break himself, it is now 24 points each. So, I mean, you have to say, until that minor adjustment of a negative play was made by Chomp previously, which nearly saw him run himself out of position. He had all of those reds positioned nicely. Right now, not so much, and having that yellow in the way of the cue ball, having to breach over it, ain't going to be positive news to Chomp either. So has to make sure he's going to be able to get some sort of rhythm of his own. Now 3 points of the advantage as the red disappears. So gets himself lined up with a bit of the angle on the pink to try and cannon the cue ball into the main cluster of those 2 reds. Let's see if he's going to be able to hold the cue ball back now to try and play the shot with a bit of pace and the power. Has to make sure he's perfect on this one for the positional play, and he ain't perfect. He ain't perfect at all. He's going to have a chance there for taking this red. 9 points of the advantage, so I think ultimately the first step of the way has to be for Chomp to ensure that, you know, unlike himself, Stephen Maguire will need that red, which is currently positioning himself in the middle of the black ball cushion, which could be a very important factor there for him, should this break not be the one that actually gets Chomp over the line. But he takes the red in nicely, so one of those shots that will help him to re-establish that confidence back on. To go sort of 15 points clear now with the blue. So still 67 points on the table. 4 of those reds being very much in and around the pink spot. 3 of them, and 1 more being remote and away from those 3. Chomp going for that one into the left corner. Wasn't really too happy with the way he's nudged the cue after the shot. Now 16 points, so 21 after the blue. We'll need, certainly 2 of those reds. Not sure if he's going to need 3 of them to get himself over the line here. 3 state frames win for Judd. Well, if it is going to be. But, yeah, look at this one for a mistake from Maguire. I mean, he was smiling about it at that time, but it was a brilliant chance of going 4-3 up on Chomp, winning 3 frames on the bounce. And at that time, as I say, Chomp was absolutely fuming after missing that red into the right corner, after someone in the crowd shouting something at him. 22 points is the advantage for Chomp and Maguire. And yeah, I mean, has he got that little bit of room for him to try and play the cue ball into the Reds to try and have a positional shot instead of trying to cannon the cue ball in towards the Reds? The answer is no. And the answer, can he actually get the cue ball lined up perfectly on those Reds? The answer is going to be no as well. I think this Red is potable into the left middle though. So has to make sure he's going to be able to control the cue ball. I think he has managed to do it quite nicely. If the cue ball's going to run a bit more, he's fine, but just about on the blue. 30 points clear, so we'll need the pink and the red to be taken to go 36 points clear with 35 on the table. And takes the blue in beautifully out there. So it does look like it is going to be the break of 58 points, which is going to get Judd Trump over the line. And him just having a look to see that the scoreboard probably just being a bit slow to update. Because if he gets the red and the black in, he's going to be able to go 2 snookers clear of Stephen Maguire. If the Maverick is to produce a 35 points of a clearance. Of course, with those 2 snookers for him to force a respot. And yeah, now just having a look to see if he's going to be able to roll the red in along the sort of cushion. 43 points now is the advantage, as I say, 35 at the table. And yeah, I don't think Maguire's going to be happy with the way he's lost out on this frame. And Chomp is going to be able to get the red in. I thought so. And Chomp has thought so as well. You can see with the reaction, he's played the shot really well. And I don't really understand how the red has stayed out. And I think you can see that with the reaction of Chomp as well. Because he has played it with a bit of pace, but he hasn't absolutely hammered that one home. And he hasn't touched the cushion at all. Bit weird that. I want to look at the replay, but it's good that it's good probably that it happens at the stage that the frame is already won there, because he forces Maguire to take that red out of the game, and ultimately finding 2 snookers on the last 6 colours is going to be very difficult there for him. Tight pockets. Well, it was a weird one, as I say. I want to have a look back at it, because I don't really understand the way that he could have played the shot better. But maybe it was just a bit of a weird camera angle or something, but it didn't look like it. Anyway, it is going to be the snooker pursuit resumed there for Maguire. The first shot is going to have the cue ball in behind the pink, which is currently on the brown spot. So, again, blaming for yeah, that's a good timing. That's a good one, to be fair. It's a good one because I'm going to side with him on this one because I thought the red was in. And I still remember that interview that he's done, that he was happy with tight pockets at Belfast, and he wasn't happy with the pockets of the Champion of Champions or whatever it was. I think he was Champion of Champions. So I never understood that comment, never agreed with it, but on this particular occasion I probably will support him in terms of I've got no clue how the red didn't drop out, but as I say, until I see the replay. And the first snooker attempt is actually successful there from Maguire, so it is going to be 4 points given away to Stephen Maguire here, and he rolls another snooker. So, I mean, I say it didn't actually matter too much. Now, he's 31 points clear, confirm. Yeah, he is 31 points clear. So, he's got one more snooker to try and get himself out of. This one should be a bit more straightforward because 2 cushion escape from in towards the green pocket and diagonally in towards the left corner away from it. And that's the shot that he's taken. And comfortably gets the yellow in this time around. Yeah, that was a good one, Letitia, to be fair. But, as I said, did an absolute... yeah. I've got no idea what he tried to say in that interview. And how on earth can you say that? You know, tight pockets is going to be good for me. But I'm not really a fan of with wide pockets because I keep missing those shots. It doesn't really just make sense to me. I know that he was saying that, you know, you can be a bit more forgiving to the lower rated players, but the fact that he's used that, you know, he's sort of getting his reds and his colours into the heart of the pocket, but surely if you do that, you're going to be able to exploit the wide pockets even more than the players that are going to be runner-ups to you. Nearly gets the yellow in though, and still gets the cue ball into the safe zone. So Maguire, once again, having that snooker pursuit re-established there for him. Tries to guide the yellow in behind the pink, and it's decent effort there for him, because even though it's not going to trouble Chomp at all, he's got the simplest ball cushion escape there. He's still going to have limited control of the cue ball and the yellow here. And just guiding that one in towards the left-hand side of the table. So still 31 points with the advantage there for Chomp. And 27 on the table as it stands. And Maguire nearly going for a double approach, which of course wasn't intentional. But whether it was intentional or not, where's the cue ball going to finish? Is he going to be behind the brown? I think it's close, but I think Chomp is going to be able to get through to the yellow. Could have actually been sort of able to pot it. So not going to be the worst case scenario. And I mean, if he's played that and he manages to get the yellow in, that is going to be the shot of the tournament already. Because he basically plays an all-table double into the green pocket of the yellow. I mean, that's certainly going to keep Maguire in his chair now. He needs 2 snookers off the green now. I don't think he's going to come back to this one. Yeah. It is going to be a frame conceded now. And it is going to be Judd Chomp 4, Stephen Maguire 3. So he manages to end the sequence. And you can see what Maguire thinks of that. He's absolutely fuming with himself. And it all comes down to that red that he missed into the right middle. Could have been a very different story had he gone 4-3 up instead. It is Judd Chomp 4 and Stephen Maguire 3. Chomp is only 2 frames away from booking the spot in the last 16 clash against Si Xiaowei. So, you know, not so much going to be blaming tight pockets now, but yeah, still want to see the replay. I've got absolutely no idea how the red is stayed out along the cushion, but ultimately you have to say it was a great break by Chomp, and he managed to work for it really nicely. You know, the positional play has been really good. Something that, you know, you can't really say for him. Strange frame, Maguire not happy. He won't be happy. And listen, you can understand why. If he takes that red in, barring another impossible mistake, it is going to be a great opportunity there for him to close off the frame and to be 4-3 up on Chomp. We need 3 frames on the bounce. Chomp has no momentum. He's got absolutely no chance of sort of going through the gears at that stage. But right now, once again, it is Chomp that has all the aces there, pardon the pun. The ace in the pack with all the aces now. And yeah, Maguire ain't going to be happy with that. And you can understand why. Wants to, well, not wants to, but needs to put it back and sort of behind him and try and focus on frame number 8. It's still anyone's for the taking there. Chomp is going to be the favourite once again here, of course. But ultimately, you have to say, Maguire had those chances in every single one of those frames. And he was just not able to take all of them or enough of those on 4 of those occasions. And the breaks of 82, 86 and 111 are certainly going to be a sign that he has played some great snooker already. But he's going to be a bit better for it to take for him to actually beat the world number 1 and the reigning UK champion. He succeeded on the snooker, but it wasn't enough. Yeah, Letitia, true. He needed 2 of them. And I think the best chance that he had, of course, was that red into the right middle. But ultimately, I think if you look back on the snooker, he's managed to line up a great snooker in behind the pink, which has actually allowed him to consequently have snooker number 2 lined up straight away in behind the black. Well, when Chomp was unable to hit the yellow on the first time of asking, but it was always going to be very difficult with the 6 colours. And then when Chomp manages to pot the yellow into the green pocket, you know, it's 2 snookers once again there for you to try and produce on 5 colours. It's going to be more of a impossible mission there for you. And even though we are talking about Maverick, not going to have that mission impossible against Chomp completed. Now Chomp has got a nice little shot of the break off. Remember that the previous one from Maguire. Seeing a long shot from Chomp, successful, but only, well, to an extent out there. And what followed was an absolute chaos of Maguire misjudging the shot from snooker. And Chomp missing out and underrunning a red into the right corner. What followed was a break of 24 points from Maguire, and then ultimately the break of, I think it was 60 points from Judd Chomp's point of view. Once again, Maguire just going for the red, which wasn't really there for him. Leaving that red into the right corner. Was very close to smashing the cue on the floor, but ultimately he's just going to hold himself together for a couple of more seconds. And the fact that he's missed that one by so much means that he's lost control of the cue ball and has given himself, well, certainly a lot of time in his chair. A lot of time to think about what he's going to have to do in the next frame, because this one is going to be very much out of his control. And Chomp gets himself lined up on the right side of the blue now. Gets the cue ball lined up for the lower part of the table in the next couple of shots here. And try and play the white through the blue. Try and get himself re-established on the black ball spot to ensure that he's going to have the best possible chance of trying to take this position. The one that actually makes it a straightforward frame win there, which probably is going to be something that we haven't said about Judd Chomp for a while in this match. Of course, for him to clear the black spot, he is going to take a lot of shots there with all the reds in the way right now. Therefore, has to try and take the pink into the left middle with after the second red. I don't think he's played the shot too well, though, because, I mean, with the way he's got this cue ball lined up with the angle, he's going to have the white to be heading in towards those reds, which at this stage is not really something that Chomp would like. And there's the outcome. It was always going to be the risk of, if he sends the cue ball into those reds, one of them may be in the way of another red. And that's exactly the red that Chomp was playing for. So, a lovely position. Turns into absolutely nothing. And only 13 points of advantage there for Chomp. And he's got absolutely no backup option. Unless, miraculously, he manages to take this planting to the right corner. Which is going nowhere near it, by the way, right now. And it probably will be the wrong shot to take in any way. And Maguire probably doesn't know that just yet. And he is going to have a chance to come back to the table now, because of course Chomp is going to have to play a safety shot, getting the cue ball to the top part of the table, and once again having the yellow to try and cover up the right hand side of the table, but ultimately the left hand side is going to be available there for Maguire to try and do something with. Ideally would have liked to go for the red into the left corner, try and play it along the cushion with it being so close to the pocket, and have himself lined up for the black. But as I mentioned, the black spot is currently covered up by the reds, therefore not really possible for you to get on any one of them. But what is possible for you to find a brilliant cut into the right corner, and he is unlucky with this one though. Any other kiss other than that, and he would have been nicely on at least one of those ball colours. In the end, he has pushed yellow towards the green pocket, but the cube was going to be perfectly on the ball cushion. So it is going to make the shot really difficult there for him. Probably has to take this one on, to be fair. If he tries to roll the cue ball in behind the green or brown, he probably doesn't have the sort of frame advantage for you to do that, because Chomp can afford to do that now with him being 4-3 up. Maguire has to go for this yellow to be taken into the green pocket, but can't afford to miss it. And he has missed it. Wow. I mean, you can't criticise him for that. He has gone for the right approach. You can't really win frames against Judd Chomp if you're going to be rolling the cue ball in behind the green and brown. And yeah, it was very, very close. And I also think it's going to be very close for the fact of if Chomp can see that enough of that red to try and take it into the right corner, into the left corner, I should say. Alternative, he ain't going to be too great there for him either. Let's see. It's a very important shot there for him. And yeah, Chomp. It's a weird shot there that Chomp has played, because he obviously felt that he couldn't see enough of that red to try and take it into the left corner, which would have been further away from the cue ball. So he has gone for the red, which was closest to the cue ball, and tried to guide it into the front jaw of the left corner pocket, obviously leaving himself for the yellow, which is over the green pocket right now. And still missed out on that one. Gives the turn back to Maguire. And that 12 points advantage is going to be absolutely nothing now for Chomp. If one of these two players is going to be able to have a clean break chance. Because so far, I haven't seen that for a while in between any of those two. And Maguire just trying to guide the cue ball onto the top part of the table once again. And I mean, he has got a very dangerous red to try and make sure he's going to get cover on. Whether he's going to be green or blue in the way of the cue ball. I think he's playing the shot really nicely out there. Because, you know, even though when you take those shots on, you're under massive risks of leaving that red available to your opponent. But if you cover it up like Maguire did, all of a sudden, you know, Chomp can't actually see too many of those reds. And also he has to be mindful of that he has to make sure he's going to be able to cover up the red of himself. And yeah, just having a look to see if he's going to be able to go for the red of a cut there into the left corner. Or is it just going to be a safety approach there for him and try and get the cue ball lined up for a traditional shot onto the lower part of the table. Once again, just having a look to see if that red, which he has been looking for previously, he's going to be able to drop it into the left corner. Once again, just checking the way that he needs the cue ball to be lined up for the brown to be in the way of that red. Clearly doesn't find a way of having the cue ball to be placed in exactly the same spot as it is right now, in behind the green and blue. And yeah, he has gone for a bit of a plant approach. Don't think he's going to work out there for him because the same couple of reds are going to be available there for Maguire to be taken. So, you know, you could understand why he's gone for that shot, but ultimately he has missed that one by so much. It nearly has turned into a plant. And, well, once again, talk about cue action from Maguire. You're going to need a lot of that now because you've got two options, realistically. You've got an easier red, which you can just drop in and get yourself lined up for the black, or you can go for the difficult one and not really going to be able to get yourself on the black out of that one. So I have a lot of cue action needed there for the cue ball to be lined up for the blue. And of course, if you run yourself out of position, you always have got the yellow as a backup option. And Maguire has gone for the sort of in-between shot selection. He's gone for the easier red, but he's tried to power the way of the cue ball through those reds. I think it's actually worked out perfectly there for him, because he's going to have a pink available to be taken. So the black is probably going to be out of position for the foreseeable future. But pink is going to be there for Maguire. And at this stage, it probably is going to be enough there for him to take it into a competitive break chance there. And yeah, Maguire just going for that red into the right corner right now. So he's just having a look to see if he's going to be able to get himself lined up for the next black. And I don't think that's the positional shot that he was trying to play for. And yeah, I mean, he's having a look to see if he's going to be able to sort of get the yellow from this angle, but doesn't seem to be the case. Once again, just having a look to see if he can get through to the yellow, because basically he has to bridge over the red, which is sort of 2 millimeters away from the cue ball, to try and play a black, which would have been difficult in itself. Yeah, so he could just about see that yellow enough there to try and get it into the green pocket. Now, what's he going to be having for the next shot of the reds? He's got one into the right corner, but once again, I mean, he's used the ace of having that yellow and the red into the left corner and the green pocket, respectively. Now, he has got a difficult red to be taken into the right corner, and also he has to make sure he absolutely nails on the positional play now. And even though I did say the pink was going to be a nice little friend there for him, in terms of trying to have a chance, which is going to see him have a nice little chance of a break there. Yeah, now Chomp is going to be very, very eager to get himself back to the table. Let's see if that's going to be the case, though. If Maguire's actually taking on anything now, he's having a look to see if he's got a red lined up into the right middle or the right corner. Let's see what the short selection is going to be made there for him. And in the end, it's just a safety shot being played. Has to make sure he gets the green in between the cue ball, though. Doesn't want this red to be available to Chomp, and I think it is going to be available. So the break of 10 points there for Maguire. And back to the table steps Chomp. Still, the position is one of those that is going to be a problem for any one of the players to close off the frame. with the next visit to the table, but also you have to be mindful that, in these sort of position, if you go 30 points down, it could be a massive disadvantage there to your name. And that's something that Judd Chomp and Stephen Maguire both have to be cautious about. And yeah, Chomp wants to have the cue ball right underneath the yellow, and that's exactly the location of the white for the next couple of seconds out there. And anywhere but there, Stephen Maguire would have had a nice little chance of taking that red into the left corner. Instead, it is going to be a difficult shot even to try and play a safety shot out of this position. Not even talking about getting himself lined up for the long red into the left corner. Now 2 points is the advantage for Chomp. Still 107 on the table. And Maguire just having a look to see if he's going to be able to go into a cushion first shot. Try and get that red into the left corner. And at this stage, you have to say, it has turned into a bit of a slow match, slow frame. But you can understand that. Chomp is no longer running away with it. Hasn't really been playing too well in the second part of the match. And Maguire, of course, is going to be sort of sensible enough in terms of his shots approach. And trying to ensure that he ain't going to leave anything easy there for Chomp to try and run away with. So once again, just checking the reds. Available into the right corner. He has gone for the 5 red plants previously in the left middle in one of those frames. He is looking for a plant of 3 reds to be taken into the right corner now. So just what sort of mitigating circumstances could this shot and the cue ball being right under the yellow could actually have there for Chomp's point of view? Maguire, he has taken more than a minute now, but he still has absolutely no clue which part of the table go for. Whether it's going to be right, left, whether it's going to be the plant, whether he's going to try and roll the cue ball into the left corner pocket. Yep, absolutely no clue there, and you can see it approaching 2 minutes there for the short time. Still, once again, just having a look and maybe just committing to trying to cut that red into the left corner. But, I mean, he has to understand that if that is the shot that he's taken, if he misses it, it will probably be the last shot that he takes in this frame here. Now, does seem to commit to it now. So, all about this shot now. So, what can he do from it? Not a lot, but is he going to be able to get the cue ball into the top part of the table? No, he won't. Catches the blue full ball. So, it was a decent sort of line there for the cue. I don't think that was a plan, because I don't think you can judge the pace of the cue ball that perfectly. And 3 cushion and in towards the bulk line would have been the perfect sort of outcome there from Maguire. And ultimately, it is going to be a red given away here to Judd. Maguire can't believe it. And you can understand why. He had a couple of chances to go, potentially 5-3 up there. And right now, it is going to be a pot taken well by Chomp. Is he going to be on the collar? Yes, he will be. So, I have mentioned that previously. Whichever players actually managed to get the first chance is going to be a great favourite of taking this frame away from their opponent. And it is going to be Judd Chomp now. 3 points clear. Trying to make it 9 and run away from Maguire here. Because he is going to have a lot of reds available. The black is not quite in his spot, but still in open play. And if Chomp manages to sort of cut the number of those reds available on the table and put those into the various pockets of the table, he's going to be able to get himself into a nice little chance there of taking the position. So 30 plus breaks 4 from Judd Chomp, total points 327, and average break when he has been more than 2 pots 44. Centuries 1 and highest break of 100 points there from Chomp. Once again, going for the blue to be taken into the yellow pocket now. Clearly trying to play that shot on purpose. So getting the cue ball to be lined up for the lower part of the table now. And plays that shot with power. And where's the cue ball going to finish though? Absolutely no man's land really. I mean, he's got a red available into the right middle, but I can't really see him playing for that shot previously. And he also has got a rare shot available into the left corner, but neither of them are going to be one of those that you're going to say is going to be an absolute guaranteed shot for Trump to actually try and take it into either left or right corner. And yeah, he does seem to commit to the rare shot. He is one of the better players when it comes to taking the rare shots. but not so much when it comes to taking the rest shots under pressure. Purely my observations previously, and observations may be confirmed now. He misses the red in. Where is he going to finish? Is he going to be visible to Maguire? I don't think he will be, So the break of 13 points and 15 points of an advantage. Nearly potting the cue ball, to be fair. In fact, I think he was closer to potting the cue ball than he was to potting the red there. Rest pot success 75%, so not too bad. But not perfect either. Now, what the chance that Maguire will try and take now? Is he going to try and take for the sort of attacking approach, or is he going to go for just sending the cube onto the top part of the table? He's going to try and cut the red in, and he'll make it. So now it's another start of a break here for Stephen Maguire, and one of those frames where you have to say anything can happen. And we have seen that in frame number 7, where Maguire was probably the favourite of taking that frame, especially with the second chance presented to him, until he was unable to make that red into the right middle. And Trump has produced a break of sort of 70 points of his own. Now it's could be tables reversed and rolls reversed now. 9 points of a gap there for Maguire to try and overturn. A bit on the run for the red into the right corner, but shouldn't be too much of a concern there for him. Should try and get the red in now. And a bit of traction on the cue ball using the black ball cushion to get himself lined up for either pink or black, but not in between those two. Not in between those two, but still not perfect on either. I don't think he's going to take the black now, so has to take the pink. And ultimately, if he is going to take the pink, the way he's going to have the cue ball to be lined up for the top part of the table, I think it's going to be quite a difficult shot there for him to have himself lined up for the next red. So has to just take all the power away from the cue ball and get himself lined up for a red shot to be taking into the right corner right now. So 2 points of a gap, 75 on the table, all to play for. Maguire will need all of those reds to be taken if he wants to make sure that this frame is going to be over at this time of asking there for him. Because he can try and go sort of 35 points clear exactly with taking those reds with high value colours. Game on, Maguire chance. It is with a chance. Pot success 91% there for Maguire, 87 for Trump. So despite him winning more frames than Maguire so far, it's actually Stephen with a better pot success numbers out there on the score sheet. But as I say, I still think it is going to be a massive challenge there for Maguire to win this frame in the visit to the table that he's currently on right now, because of the 4 colours that he's got available after his black. I mean, 2 of them certainly are going to be slightly problematic. One very close to the black ball cushion and pretty much on the middle of the table. The other one quite close to the right-hand rail, and will have to be played very carefully along the cushion to try and drop it into the right corner. And got 6 points of advantage. You ain't going to do it there for Maguire, with him just studying all the points that he'll require for him to get over the line. And Judd back game. Well, he ain't really playing well. And I thought he was playing in decent way in the opening session. In the opening mini session, I should say. In the opening 4 frames when he was 3-1 up there. But in the end, wasn't really able to replicate that same form in the second mini session now. Losing 2 frames on the bounce. Could have lost 3 on the bounce as well. But managed to take the scrappy frame on the frame number 7 out there. But now let's see if Chomp is going to be able to get back to the table with at least one more chance. Maguire doesn't seem to be too happy with the way he's played this shot now. For the red to be played along the cushion. So 19 points is the advantage, 51 on the table. Any mistake is going to be unforgiving there for Maguire, and he knows it, which is why he goes up from the shot and not going to be in too much of a hurry there. But we've seen that work out against the players previously, and against Trump, of course, as well in this particular match. Now just drop the red in. Doesn't have to play this one with power, but he has played it with power and still dropped the red in, which is going to make the next shot a bit easier there for him. And 2 reds. It is going to be 2 reds there for him. So 27 points right now. No, I thought, yeah, as I say, he needs all of those reds. because, you know, if he gets this red with the black in, he's going to be 35 points clear and 35 on the table, with him being 27 clear right now. So technically, you know, Chomp will still be able to force a respot, and that's why Maguire has to navigate his way through those shots, and I don't think he's going to be happy with the way he's landing on his black now. Yeah, sorry, no, don't worry, it was 2 reds at that stage anyway. Now 28 to go, 35 clear, with 35 on the table, and he's got himself lined up with a straight shot now. Just roll the red along the cushion and try and take it with no more risk. Of course, if Maguire rolls the red in, it is going to take it to 2 snookers needed there for Chomp. But has to be very careful not to touch the front end jaw. He's caught that one way too quickly, and it is a chance for a respot now. A break of 50 points there for Maguire. Ain't going to be enough at this stage. And he knew as soon as he hit that shot, he wasn't going to drop the red in. Tight pocket. Yeah, of course, we have seen a couple of those shots along the cushion missed in that pocket. Unforced error 7 for Maguire. And with all 6 colours being back on their spots, could we see a bit of a chance for a respot? Not the best shot from the red, though, for Chomp to try and take. And I think he manages to take this one quite nicely out there, to be fair. So let's see if he is going to have the red lined up, and he will. So, one more chance taken by Judd Chomp, and so now 27 points behind, still 27 on the table. We could see a respot now in between those 2 players. And of course, for Stephen Maguire at this stage, it will be a massive blow there, which you have to say, it will be totally self-inflicted, because nobody asked him to. Well, realistically, you can't really ask him to have a better positional shot on the next sort of caller, but still, as I say, not going to be happy with the way he's rolled the red in. He caught the cushion way too close to the cue ball, and there was no sign that the red was going to drop in at that time. And respot happy. Well, not quite yet, as I say. I have seen pink and black missed previously, and right now it is going to be just getting to that zone of trying to roll the pink in and get himself lined up for the black to be taken. Manages to take the pink, so now it all comes down to this. The black for the respot. It should be off the spot, so I don't think there's going to be any surprises there for Chomp, but you never know, and it ain't going to be any surprises. So, 61 points each, and as you can see on the table, points left 7. So we are going to see a respot now in between the 2 players. And Maguire is going to be smiling inside, sort of on the outside of him, but inside he'll be absolutely fuming. Once again, he had that chance, and he was applying all the pressure on Chomp for the majority of the frame, but was unable to get that extra point. And do you play if win, toss, or put in other? What a frame. Oh, you mean... I'll be honest with you, and it's probably not a good sign of me, but I'll probably let the other person play, because I know very well that if I play the first shot, I play so well that I may put it over the pocket there for them. So that's why I just asked them to have that sort of reaction to themselves and, you know, take all the risks to them. But if you are professional, I think it is an advantage for you to break off, because you just put it on the cushion, and then the other player has to try and actually worry about it, where you're going to put the black in, where you're going to put the cubal in. Whereas to think of the break off, I think it's a bit more straightforward. And what a frame, Letitia. Yeah, true. And still no sign of actually seeing the winner now. It's a respot. It's it's points left 7, and it's the black for everything to be taken in between those 2. So Maguire he's gone for it now. I mean, it's easy to say that now, but I think it was a very wrong shot to play. I didn't actually see it at that time. I thought he was just thinking about maybe trying to take a cut hut double, but right now it is going to be a black given away there. It's basically over the pocket. Well, I think it's over the pocket. The fact that Chomp had to look at it twice there, I still think it's over the pocket. Yeah, he's just going to try and reach it and knock the black in. So, for how good the frame was, the ending is going to be a bit scrappy out there, but it is going to be perfect for Chomp's point of view. It is going to be the comeback of all times there for him, because being 35 points down with 1 red on the table, he manages to force a respot, and after a mistake from Maguire, it is now going to be 5 for Judd and only 3 for Stephen Maguire as we enter frame number 9. And it could be the time for Judd to actually close off the match and get himself booked in for the last 16 match with Si Xiaowei. I know, a long way back now. Yes, but also, listen, the way Maguire's taking that previous frame, you can just see that losing that 7th frame has hurt him badly, and it's also hurt him the approach. Because if you have a look the sort of approach that he was taking on the frame number 5, frame number 6, frame number 7 to an extent, he was always playing the safe shot. He was never trying to rush things too much, and he was just trying to make sure that, as long as I don't leave anything easy for Chomp, I'll be able to get myself lined up in a nice position. That's not the approach that he's taken in the previous frame, and therefore, I think that's actually what has played a dangerous thing against him. And leaving that red on for Chomp, 35 points of a gap. You thought that, maybe Chomp is gonna mess up somewhere, but with 6 color clearance, there was very little hope in actually that being the case. And then you have the respot. Maguire, listen, if Maguire makes the black and you say, what an absolute brilliant pot, what a find, what a gem. Chomp is all over the place. It's 4 each. He caught the jaw, caught the front jaw, by the way, very important, because it's the unforgiving jaw. If you catch the back end jaw, sometimes he'll just be able to drop the black in. If you catch the front end jaw, especially if you play it with very little pace, if you play that one with middle range pace, sometimes he'll drop in because of the momentum. Because of the way that he's going to just try and roll the black in, if you have a minor impact on that front end jaw, it's going to stop a lot of momentum on the black, and therefore it's going to be very difficult for the player to drop the black in, which was exactly the case for Maguire. 1 millimeter to the left, and he's 4 each. Fine margins, but you have to say, maybe it shouldn't actually be all down to this, and it should not have been down to the respotted black. Had Maguire been more careful with that shot along the cushion, but he's still in this match, albeit just about now. It is 5 frames to 3 that Stephen Maguire trails by, and it's his break-off shot to get the 9th frame on the way. And is Strom still struggle with his opening breaks? I mean, before changing his cue, he opened with only 2 reds moving and only 1 coming back to the pack. Now, last time I saw a match, it wasn't very good. Yes, I think I get what you're talking about, but I think, what is it now? Frame number 9, so you would have had 4 sort of breaks from Chomp and 5 from Maguire. Yeah, I have to say, I think Chomp had a bit of a shaky break off in frame number 8, but apart from that, I think they all been really, really good there for him. And don't really have anything bad to say about. I do have a lot of bad things to say about this shot, though, because, he's tried to take the red into the left corner, and not only did he not manage to roll the red in, and he's also left it over the right middle. Don't ask me how the red ended up there. The cue ball wasn't in a perfect positional shot anyway, with it catching the yellow full ball. And once again, it's another chance there for Stephen Maguire. Many red spread. Now, as I say, to an extent in that frame number 8, but I don't think apart from that we have seen a bad break-off from John previously, but we have seen a lot of bad shots apart from that, and it's one more of those which is going to lead Stephen Maguire into a chance of taking those reds into the left corner now. John being lucky a touch today, I think. It's an interesting point, and it's the one that you can't really say yes or no to. I'm just trying to go through the entire match. Yeah, probably. If you take the emotions out of the game, you have to say, the chance that he had in the previous frame, before that 35 points of a clearance, and by the way, I still think it was completely self-inflicted. So, if you're not confident, and take away the confidence, actually, to be fair, you have to take the confidence out of that game. You have to get that red in. It's absolutely unacceptable for Maguire to miss it, because the way he was playing that red, he was never trying to play for the black. Therefore, he had the perfect positional shot on the cue ball, so you have to get the red in. There's no excuse for it. You can say that he could have played safe, but you can't play safe in that position. Caught the front jaw in a minor effect there, but still drops the black in. And therefore, that chance of a 35 points of a clearance and the respot is completely on Maguire. He has to get that red in, and sometimes it could be about one shot which is going to get you a win or a loss there, and he had that a couple of times. He had that with the respot to black, and he had that with the red. But if you talk about Trump being lucky, I do actually think that there has been more situations where Maguire has missed a shot and left a Trump on with a nice little shot to choose from, than Trump doing the same thing. Because if you look at the pot success, the fact that Trump has got lesser of a pot success, and Maguire sort of 87 to 91%, I think it was. And at that stage, he was 4-3. So ideally, if you talk about the breaks that Maguire has made, the breaks of 82, 86, 111 previously, for the 3 frames that he's actually managed to win, and now 33 points and counting, as he's about to exploit the last red after this pink. He hasn't really been playing badly of his spot success, you have to say that, and therefore he probably just wasn't getting the chances, but he can't fail the eye test. Trump was making those errors, therefore I think for me the logical conclusion is Trump is probably lucky to an extent. I'm not saying that he's lucky to an extent that is, the only reason why he's going to win the match, possibly, is because of luck. No, absolutely not. He deserves it, because there have been a bit more crucial mistakes from Maguire. I just think there have been, over the course of the match, there have been more mistakes from Trump than Maguire. I think that's a fact. But in key moments, I think Maguire has crumbled more than Trump did. I think that's the way to put it. And I think that's why we've got a scoreline of 5 frames to 3 and 40 points of an advantage there for Maguire. Unlucky with this one to an extent, because he played the shot nicely. He didn't manage to spread the reds out to an extent that he wanted. And just saying, well, to himself, Snooker gods or whatever, oh, come on. Yeah, he's just about on the wrong side of the blue. And, of course, it's impossible to get the cue ball lined up for the lower part of the table now from the blue. Don't think he can take the brown in either into the yellow pocket, so has to take the pink, which is currently on the yellow spot. But, I mean, I say has to. Don't really understand what he's trying to achieve unless he's going to get all that cue action in that cue ball. My word, what a shot that he's just played. Oh my god. I think it's really difficult to put in words how much of a difficult shot that was. But to get so much of the cue action on the white was pretty much mission impossible. I couldn't actually understand what he was trying to do, because you can see that in your head that there's a potential line for the cue ball to travel on the right hand side of the table and bounce away from the cushion, but it's like a computer game. You're not going to be able to do that in real life, but you can, and you will be able to do that if you're Steve Maguire. I mean, look how wide and look how much of a difference there is in between the cue ball and the pink. My word, that is incredible. I mean, Maguire bottle. I mean, if Maguire doesn't win this match, and I mean, whoever loses the match is going to be a bit of a disappointment anyway for the neutral point of view. I'm not even saying for any the fans for any one of those players. Yeah, I mean, it has been an absolute pleasure to watch now. 62 points of a gap now for Maguire, 83 on the table. Q action, all about Q action and all about Q power. They managed the sort of, I didn't even hear the audio, but you can just absolutely have the imagination of just the beautiful stroke in with the Q connecting to the tip and sending the cue ball perfectly in towards the pink, slowing it down in no time and getting accelerated down the table and getting himself lined up perfectly for a shot to be taken into the left corner. Probably is a contender for shot of the match now. I think there was one more there from, I think it was from, I can't actually remember if it was from Maguire or Trump, but he says it was a remarkable one. But for the simple, like, you need to know how difficult it is to actually play that shot for you to actually praise it, because, you know, sometimes it may look like it's an ordinary shot, but yeah, like, so easy to either miscue, miss the pink, or get absolutely nowhere near the positional play. As Maguire gets himself lined up for the frame ball now. 67 points clear with 67 on the table. So just roll the blue in. Get yourself lined up for a couple of more of those reds. And it is going to be 5-4 of a scoreline. So first frame and first chance for Judd to get over the line. Ain't going to lead to absolutely anything. And once again, the good old tradition to when Maguire wins the frame. He makes a break of 70 plus. So far, it has been 86, 82, 111, and now 78 points of break that we've seen. Happy Maguire, game on. Well, it could be another decider there. We have mentioned that we have seen a couple of those in the qualifying matching. Haven't quite seen that one in Ryan Day against Si Xiaowei though. And yeah, Maguire possible 137 as you can see, but I think it is going to be a challenge there for him with the way those Reds are currently positioning themselves. So I think he's going to be able to roll the red along the cushion into the right corner, but roll it, not play through it. Bit disappointed there in Maguire because you want to see a century once again there from the Maverick. And 82, 86, 86 and 111 breaks there from Stephen Maguire as he now manages to cut the deficit once again there. It is Judd 5, Stephen Maguire 4. Very interesting stat once again. Even though the match has been very close, Chomp has been leading all the way from the start to the very end. Not the incorrect wording. I mean, Chomp wasn't behind at any stage of the match. We had a scoreline of, I think it was 0-0 and 3-3. Yeah, and that was the only time where Maguire was sort of back in the game. Apart from that, it was always Chomp trying to set the pace of the match. And ultimately, the only time that Maguire is going to be able to win the match and be ahead there, for it to be at the very last frame there, still has got one more piece of the jigsaw to try and complete before he forces the decider there. And then you have to say at that stage, it probably is going to be anyone's game for the taking there. Happy Maguire, game on. It is. And, you know, you can always speculate what could have been had he not managed to miss a couple of those very important blacks and reds previously in the match. But ultimately, I have to say, we have seen a beautiful battle in between those two players. And now let's see if it is going to be one more chapter in this one. Chomp to try and break the reds away from each other. And let's see now. I think Letitia has mentioned the break-off shot by Chomp. Now, once again, I think it's a nice little shot taken. I mean, the red has gone... Nah, it's a nice shot. It's a nice shot there. I think, you know, you could argue that the red is potable into the left corner, but not with the way the cue ball is actually positioned in relation to the red. I mean, I think I'll look really, really stupid if Maguire takes the red in and actually manages to pot it. And, I mean, he has taken it on. He hasn't potted it, though, so somewhat thankful for that. And, yeah, he wasn't really... I mean, it's difficult to say if he was lucky or not there because he caught the double kiss of the same red. And now he's going to have that red available into the right corner for Chomp. But ultimately, it's not going to be the angle which is going to be perfect there from Chomp. So maybe just going for the red into the right middle is going to be a better short selection there from Judd. And yeah, in a couple of seconds, you can just see his face going from, yeah, I potted the red to, have I potted the red? Yes, I have potted the red. That bit of a feeling where... You know, sometimes you think that you've struck that one too well, and then you see it going too close to the jaws there, but still dropping the red in. And now it is going to be Chomp for a chance of closing out the sort of opening frame here and getting himself over the line now. And not an easy red. I think you were talking about the Maguire red. Yeah, it was a difficult one, but as I say, could have been worse, could have been better there for Maguire there in terms of the break-off shot there from Chomp, but couldn't really have been any worse there from the position that is given away here to Chomp. And Judd is going to be able to take this one away into, well, at least you have to say 50 plus of a break. He's got 4 more reds after this black, which is going to get him 20 points clear. And 4 reds to be taken with the black is going to get you into 52 points of a gap. And then that goes without saying that you can always try and develop a couple of more of those by trying to play a split shot of the cue ball being sent into the main pack of the Reds. And don't think there's going to be a player better on the tour right now, especially after playing 9 frames here than Judd Chomp. Not going to be feeling any pressure, that's for certain, especially the first round match. But we have seen those sort of, you know, when you talk about Triple Crown events, we have seen them. We have seen champions losing out the first round match. You talk about Luca Brissell and Karen Wilson in the World Championship. Ooh, I think Chomp has gone into a bit of a nervy zone. because I think he was trying to play the cue ball for the red into the right corner. Now instead he has to go for the red into the left middle. It's a potable shot, but getting on the colour ain't going to be too easy there for him. And also the fact that he has to bridge over the red ain't going to make it too easy there for him either. And I mean, he manages to get the red in, which is good news. The bad news is he's got a very nasty angle on the blue, which is going to be borderline and actually not worth taking on there. And sending the cue ball to the top part of the table is going to mean very little control there. He's going to try and play the cue ball into the main bunch of reds. What a lovely camera angle this is. And it's a decent effort there by Chomp, but I think the best chance that he's going to have of trying to continue the break is going to be trying to take the red into the yellow pocket. And once again, it's not an easy red. Not a lot of distance in between the cue ball and the red, but certainly a lot of distance for the red to cover. Has he played the shot well? I think he has. He has played the shot really well there, and probably is going to be the shot that takes Chomp over the line with, it taking 42 points after this black. He's got 3 more reds available there to himself, which should get him over and done with this frame, and therefore the match as well. And I'm certainly looking forward now to the match of Si Xiaowei and Judd Chomp. If it is going to be the case now, he's probably about 6 or 7 shots away from that being the case. 91 points on the table as he rolls 1 more red in. Had to go for the blue on the first time of asking, but ultimately landing perfectly on it, being topside, and I think is just about enough of a minor angle. It's rare to have a good camera angle when you need. Yeah, I mean, it was a good one, because it was actually a great camera work there, because it was quite far away. And you could see the position of the cue ball, the way it was going in towards the reds, and even the way it was travelling into the bulk line area first and foremost. Great to know. Yeah, well, I mean, fair play to them. Now, 49 points of a break, so Chomp is about to make 50 plus break. Once again, I'm quite interested to see how many of those we have seen already, because certainly 4 from Maguire, if not more than that. And so 4 50 plus breaks from Chomp, 5 50 plus breaks from Maguire, and 1 century each. So certainly a high scoring match that we have seen from the 2 players right now. So 55 points advantage, so 62 after this black. And not going to have any more reds, so try and get the cue ball to be sent into those 5 reds. Try and land on at least one of them and get yourself over the line. Not going to be the case now, unless one of those reds is actually potable into the right corner. Don't think Chomp played the shot too well. He's sort of had the cue ball skid off those reds, got a bit of traction on them, and managed to spread those out to an extent. But ooh, this is a nasty shot to take on. 75 points. That's what makes you a champion or the runner-up. You're going to be able to take the red in. I'll probably have to say, even if you're Chomp, you have to just say, not on this occasion, and play a safety shot out of it. I mean, it's such a nasty shot. It's very close to being straight, and it's right on the cushion there for the cue ball. A lot of distance in between the white and the red, and Chomp will probably go for it, but don't tell me I haven't warned you if he misses it. And the way he's missed it by so much, it probably has worked out perfectly for him, because he had to play that shot perfectly so that one of those reds wouldn't catch the other one, but he caught it in a way that both of them have actually gone quite far away from the cue ball, and therefore Maguire hasn't got a chance presented to him, which would be easy. I think he can try and take that red into the yellow pocket, but as I say, it's going to be far from easy of a shot there for him to try and take. And Maguire just not being happy, and you could go back to that sort of luck point of view. Has he been lucky? Has he been unlucky? I think ultimately, if that is the way this match is going to end there, you have to say Maguire has played a brilliant part in it. I always said he was going to be a shout. I said he needed a great start there for him to be in contention, and he has probably played his last shot there with a double, putting all the eggs in one basket, leaving that red into the right middle, which still not going to be a gimme, but for it basically to be formally a frame ball there and a match ball for Chomp, because he only needs a red and a colour. I think he'll be able to get this one in. Let's see now. Oh, he's played the shot with a bit of backspin. I don't know why. don't know why he has. All he had to do was try and roll the cue ball for the pink. Don't really understand why he had to make this shot so much more difficult for him, because if he plays that shot with the same with the same line, but with very little pace, he drops the red in for the simple momentum aspect, and that one has bounced away there. But once again, just not leaving anything to Maguire, apart from a potential planting to the right middle, which Maguire just doesn't seem to be considering too much. So maybe the red to be taken into the green pocket there. Or another double. I don't think he's going to take a double with this one though. So just try and take it to the top part of the table. Had to miss all of the colours. Has managed to do it nicely. Nice shot there by Maguire. Because the previous shot from Chom has put one of those reds safe. Put the blue somewhat safe. And therefore making the job for Maguire even more difficult. Chom will have to improve to win the tournament. Yeah. And that's why I said he ain't going to be my winner to win the tournament. You could say probably the same about Zhao Xington and Ronnie O'Sullivan, but I think from Xington's point of view, he has been on the up recently. I think he's managed to make it into the semi-final of Champion of Champions, final of the Riyadh Championship, which you're not going to take too seriously, but ultimately being in the semi-final of the International Championship, playing really well, defeating some of the great players on the way into that semi-final. He has won this tournament before. He doesn't care about pressure, and he enjoys long format matches. Therefore, I think he's got all the ingredients, and he's got the better side of the jaw. I'm not going to say easy side of the jaw, but he's got the better side of the jaw. Undoubtedly, if you compare it with the likes of Chomp, O'Sullivan, Robertson, Williams, or Wilson, any other one of them, because they all have to face each other, and the way to the quarterfinal, basically, the most difficult of the opposition players is going to have to be either John Higgins or Sean Murphy there for him, which, probably if you compare it to Wilson, Robertson, Williams, Chomp, all having to play each other. But not so much with Chomp, to be fair, because he's going to have Si Xiaowei if he is to make this the win against Maguire. And then he's going to have either Ding Zhuyi or Mark Allen as potential top seeds in the quarterfinal stage. So technically, you could say that Chomp doesn't have a too difficult side of the jaw either, but that's what you would expect as the world number one and their former winner here last year. So it's a decent shot there being played after careful consideration from Chomp. Not so much from Maguire though. I think he's left it on the plate for Chomp. And he was trying to force that one, Maguire. You could just feel like he's getting a bit impatient, and it's obviously all those missed chances probably getting under his skin a bit, forcing him to try and make things happen now, especially with him being 62 points down. It is now a red to be taken for Chomp, and no messing around this time around, and it is 63 points of advantage. So frame and match ball for Judd Chomp. I think he's going to be pink, taken into the right corner. He won golden ball. Yeah, Zhao. Yeah, listen, I said don't really consider that. Maybe it's unpopular opinion, but I don't really take that seriously. That doesn't work for me. That really, really doesn't work. Congratulations to Chom, by the way. He manages to take the pink into the right corner and get himself lined up for the red. So now, no way back for Maguire. He's put up a great show, though, but it was one frame too many for him to try and win, and it is going to be Judd Chom to take this win away from Maguire with a scoreline of 6-4. Nobody did. Thank you for covering happy. Yeah, Letitia, thank you. No, nobody did. Zhao Xington did, but as I say, I don't really have that tournament as a major thing for me because of the way that tournament has gone. Is we have seen way too many scoreline of 4-1, and the reason for that, to be fair, from my point of view, is going to be because if you have top players being playing against each other, you're always going to have one of them playing better than the other, obviously. But when it's such a short-term format, you're always going to have one of those players running away from each other, and until the other player manages to find some sort of form, the match will already be over. But this match certainly is going to be over, and it is, as you can see, victory for Judd Chom, and it's a defeat for Stephen Maguire. He has put up a great show there, Stephen, but ultimately it's the world number one and the reigning champion, which is going to be playing Si Xiaowei in the last 16 of a match, what a clash this is going to be, and Chom has to improve, but ultimately the skill of a champion is winning matches when you're not necessarily playing your best snooker. It is Judd Chom 6, Stephen Maguire 4 on the table number 1, and it is Si Zhao Wei 6, Ryan Day 0 on table number 2. Thank you very much for joining in, and thanks as always, Letitia, Kevin. Thank you very much for your activity in the chat, and everyone that has been watching previously. Feel free to be back for another last 32 match with Ronnie O'Sullivan starting his campaign against Joe Yulon. Are we here for another sensation, or is he going to be rocket up and running and trying to get himself off into the space? Thank you very much once again for everyone joined in, and feel free to subscribe and like the stream if you liked it, and we'll see you for the last 32 match of Joe Yulon against the rocket Ronnie O'Sullivan. Speak to you soon.